Sunlight poured over the spires of the magnificent royal palace. In the throne room, Belinda curtsied with her luggage at her side. I am Belinda of the House of Duke Wald, fiancée to Crown Prince Raymond. She quietly clenched her skirt, her knuckles turning white. The king smiled from the throne. As the future queen, you must continue to apply yourself. Belinda raised her eyes, unease on her face. The king turned to the young Raymond beside him. Be sure to get along with your fiancé. Raymond yawned, looking utterly bored. The queen leaned toward Raymond. What kind of rude attitude is that? I only just warned you a few days ago. Did you already forget? Do not ruin the mood of the engagement banquet. Belinda's body stiffened. Oh no. The girl in the red dress at his side rushed forward, her eyes shining. This is my first time meeting the prince. Belinda reached out, trying to stop her. Margaret. Dear Margaret lifted her skirt and curtsied. I'm sorry, I got too excited. She lifted her head, smiling brightly. Congratulations on your engagement. I'll work hard at my studies, just like my sister. Raymond's cheeks flushed slightly, and he let out a soft laugh. Ha! Belinda's gaze remained calm as she looked back on it. In truth, I had already known. I could never truly compete with my stepsister, Margaret. 10 years later, Belinda sat at an ornate desk, flipping through a heavy book. A quill scratched softly across the page. She set the pen down. It's already this late. I should write in my diary and then rest. 14 hours handling palace duties, dining alone again. I am only the fiancé of the crown prince. Do I really have the right to manage state affairs in their majesty's stead while they are ill? After receiving a foreign minister, I dealt with official business for 11 hours. Tomorrow I must review the documents proposed by the ministers. They've been delayed for 2 weeks already. I simply haven't had time. At another diplomatic banquet, Lord Raymond scolded me again. The hall buzzed with voices when someone exclaimed, "What? You can't drink alcohol?" Raymond gently swirled his wine glass, the red liquid spinning inside. Does your country truly have such a custom? Life in a backward nation must be rather difficult. Whispering spread all around them. Belinda covered her mouth. Lord Raymond, how can you say such a thing? The man hurriedly waved his hands. It's all right. Please don't mind it. Raymond's eyes turned cold. He shot the man a sharp look, then suddenly grabbed Belinda by the wrist. We're leaving. Margaret stood among the crowd with a hand over her mouth, watching their retreating backs with a complicated expression. The door slammed shut. Raymond violently shoved Belinda. He roared, "How dare you humiliate me like that?" He stepped closer. "This is all because you failed to cover for me properly." Belinda's voice trembled. "I'm terribly sorry." Footsteps sounded behind them. Margaret came running after them. Lord Raymond, please wait, she pleaded softly. Please forgive my sister's shortcomings. If she offended you, then as a daughter of the ducal house, I will bow with her and apologize. So please. Belinda looked at her. Again, she was clearly saving me. So why do I? Raymond stroked Margaret's hair, smiling gently. You should be grateful to have such a capable younger sister. Margaret looked up. Sister, isn't this a good thing? Belinda touched her bruised wrist. 10 years into our engagement, the distance between Lord Raymond and me only kept growing. She sat at her desk. But Margaret and Lord Raymond. Margaret's voice echoed in her mind. Sister. Belinda shook her head. What am I thinking? She was trying to protect my relationship with him. I should be grateful. She rose to her feet. Besides, her skirt swayed as she walked. A door opened before her, and light poured out. A magnificent wedding gown came into view, adorned with white flowers. Once the king and queen recover, my wedding with Lord Raymond will be held. Belinda placed a hand over her chest. Mother, as the daughter of a duke and the future queen, I swear to devote my life to this country. Perhaps one day, we may truly come to love each other. A loud crash interrupted her thoughts. The door was kicked open. A knight announced, Lady Belinda, you were suspected of murdering Her Majesty the Queen. We are here to search your room. Belinda covered her mouth in shock. What? The Queen is dead? One of the knights waved his hand. Found it. In his hand was a small white vial. Its surface was carved with delicate patterns. Belinda Wald, you are hereby arrested for treason. Flames roared high. The people raised their arms. Their furious shouts shook the air. Raymond looked down at Belinda, collapsed on the ground. What a vicious woman. Slowly poisoning the queen over time until it finally led to her death. Belinda looked up, her voice hoarse. I never did it. What is going on? There must be some misunderstanding. Margaret clasped her hands together, tears glimmering in her eyes. Lord Raymond, please wait. I beg you, let me see my sister one last time. Raymond turned to Margaret, a faint smile on his lips. Belinda closed her eyes in relief. Thank goodness. Lord Raymond will surely listen to her. Margaret ran up to her and gently touched her cheek. Belinda clung to her last hope. Margaret, I truly didn't do it. Margaret's voice was soft. I know you're innocent, sister. Her red eyes gleamed, and the smile on her lips turned icy. Because the one who poisoned Her Majesty the Queen was me. We are both daughters of a duke, yet you were the one chosen as the crown prince's fiancée. Didn't you ever find that strange? Belinda stared in terror, unable to understand. No matter what you say. Why the Queen? Margaret's face twisted with anger. Because she told me I wasn't worthy. I spent so long cultivating my relationship with Lord Raymond. At last, I proposed to that woman that the engagement be dissolved. Do you know what she said? She said I wasn't qualified to become queen. Margaret gave a cruel smile, so I decided she had to die. Belinda stared at her in shock. Margaret took her hand, and then the story spread like this. Queen-to-be Belinda emptied the royal treasury, squandering it as if it were her own fortune. When the queen uncovered her crimes, Belinda poisoned her in the end. The people's shouts rose around them. She lived in luxury on our taxes. Apologized to those starving children. You disaster. Margaret rose to her feet and went on. The villainous Belinda's crimes were exposed, and she was executed. Her loyal younger sister took her place, was praised by the people and the crown prince, and became the true queen. She spread her arms, her smile innocent and pure. Isn't it the perfect script? Belinda suddenly lunged forward. How dare you? A foot came down hard on her hand, grinding against her finger bones. Belinda trembled in agony. Raymond looked down at her, a cruel smile on his face. Time's up. Wake up. Belinda lowered her head. Fine. I never wanted the position of queen to begin with. My late mother always said that nobles are those who extend a hand to the people. For the people, there is still something I can do. Even in prison, I will continue to work. So please. Margaret's red eyes gleamed viciously. Dear sister, the people are not meant to be protected. They're meant to serve. If you are reborn, try not to make the same mistake again. Raymond spread his arms and proclaimed to the crowd, People of the kingdom, tonight we offer this evil woman who sought to overturn the nation as a blood sacrifice. The crowd's roar became one. Kill her. Flames soared into the sky as Belinda was tied to a stake. Her skin scorched as she screamed in agony. It's too hot. Help me. A knight reported to Raymond. We found a diary in Lady Belinda's room. Raymond looked irritated. What a troublesome thing. He threw the notebook into the fire. Margaret smiled sweetly. Sister, red suits you better than pink. The flames reflected in Belinda's purple eyes as her consciousness faded. She reached out. My diary is burning. All the effort I made without ever becoming queen. All the years I devoted to mother and the people. All of it vanished like bubbles. She suddenly opened her eyes, chest heaving. Gasping, she sat up and looked down at her hands. What is this? I was consumed by flames. Then she noticed the diary on the desk. Her fingers traced the page, stopping at a date from 2 years earlier. Impossible. Her eyes sharpened. If I truly have been given a second life. She clutched the diary, her gaze steady. This time, I won't make the same mistake. Belinda stood before the mirror, her figure slender, long golden hair cascading down her back. She raised a hand and stared at her smooth skin. The marks from being stepped on, the burned scars, all of them were gone. I really have returned to 2 years ago, to the time when they could still use me so easily. She opened the diary. Margaret, was she really trying to free me from Lord Raymond's harassment? She walked to the window, the letter trembling slightly in her hand. How could I have been so blind? Margaret used me as an excuse to approach Lord Raymond behind my back, her own sister's fiancé. A soft laugh drifted in from outside. Sunlight streamed through the glass conservatory, where Margaret sat with their parents around a table. Belinda's gaze turned cold. Looking back, I was surrounded by fools. But Margaret was the one behind it all. She may be despicable, but she is not stupid. I was the fool. Memories surged like a tide. Only a few days after Mother died of illness, my stepmother moved in with her daughter, 1 year younger than me. A complete family appeared before me, while I was left utterly alone. Margaret looked up at Father. From today onward, is this Margaret's home? Father smiled at Margaret. Everything here is yours. After all, you are now the daughter of a duke. It was the first time I'd ever seen such a gentle smile on Father's face. Father embraced lonely Margaret while she laughed happily at his side. Papa, I'm so happy. Tears welled from Belinda's eyes, sorrow filling her violet gaze. Now I'm the only one left, aren't I? Dressed in black mourning clothes, Belinda stood alone in the bleak courtyard. A hand reached toward her. Belinda looked through her veil, bewildered. Margaret's face held innocent confusion. Sister, she made a solemn promise. From today on, we're sisters, just the two of us. Belinda remembered that vow. It blinded me completely. Margaret tugged on Father's hand. Papa, I want to try on Sister's dress too. Father ordered Belinda, give that dress to your sister. Belinda protested softly, but that was a precious gift for Mother. Father's eyes hardened, and Belinda clenched the dress tightly. Margaret took the pink floral dress and spun happily. Father smiled nearby. Belinda, in a plain nightgown, stood off to the side with her head lowered. Margaret hugged Belinda tightly. "Thank you, sister. I'll treasure it for the rest of my life." "And what happened to that dress afterward?" "She ruined it almost at once." Belinda held the torn dress, confused. Margaret hid behind Father, looking timid. "I am sorry. It was all my fault." Father said, "Hurry and forgive her. Your mother would be heartbroken if she saw this." Belinda clutched the dress to her chest. "I want to become a daughter mother could be proud of. I'm the older sister, so I have to endure. We're family, so I must understand." I repeated those words again and again, forcing myself to endure. And in the end, all I did was let them use me and accept everything. Because of that, not only I, but others were sacrificed as well. Belinda's gaze turned resolute. "I admit Margaret deceived me, but you will never again take anything from me. I will gain whatever position I need to stop you." She opened the drawer and placed the diary inside, then took out an envelope. It was the invitation to that tea party. In the past, I thought the Queen disliked me, or had no interest in me at all. But considering what Margaret said, perhaps that was never true. Raymond kept me distant from the Queen, so I barely spoke to her. If I truly am to live this life over again. Her eyes hardened. "I must make a different choice this time." A maid entered the room. "Lord Raymond has arrived. He will escort you to the tea party. Miss Margaret is entertaining him now." Belinda looked at the maid. This was Margaret's maid. The maid stepped in. "Please allow me to assist you." Belinda took 2 steps back. "I'll be ready right away." The corner of her mouth lifted. "I see. So the trap had already begun from this very moment." She recalled her previous life. In the garden pavilion, young noble women whispered, "The two of you together look like a painting." Lord Raymond and Miss Margaret look just like a prince and princess from a fairy tale. Margaret lowered her eyes shyly. "I don't deserve that." Raymond touched her cheek. "It is my honor to be mentioned alongside you." The noble ladies gasped softly. "Miss Margaret truly is the flower of high society, and your attire today is so beautiful." Margaret brushed a hand over her dress. "I had this spring-themed gown specially made. This dress was designed around the theme of spring." She raised a hand to show the necklace at her throat. "And this is my newest treasure." Raymond took her hand. "Perhaps I should take you to my mother's tea party." He sounded slightly impatient. "Is Belinda still not ready?" Margaret answered, "My maid is hurrying her already." She let out a faint laugh. "Besides, ladies always need time to dress." Raymond snorted disdainfully. "What difference would it make even if she did dress up? She always has her nose buried in books, with an expression as stern as my mother's. Forget it. Let's just leave her and relax here instead." Belinda suddenly appeared. "Then why don't you continue?" Raymond froze, alarm crossing his face. "You know it's rude to eavesdrop." Belinda stood there in a red gown, arms folded, golden hair stirring in the breeze. "I had no intention of eavesdropping. You were simply speaking so loudly in the garden that it was impossible not to hear." She gave a small laugh. "Perhaps you ought to be more careful about what you discuss. In my previous life, these people's titles far exceeded their actual worth, yet they still gained endless commercial benefits. How does it feel to be humiliated in front of your flock of bald vulture followers?" Raymond clenched his jaw, his eyes darkening. A maid came hurrying over. Belinda recalled her previous life. "The first time I attended the Queen's tea party, the maid deliberately told me the wrong dress code. I was humiliated because of it. In that life, she wore a blue gown, standing alone among noble ladies dressed in pink. She stood out completely. When Margaret learned of it, she flew into a rage and dismissed the maid on the spot. But that had all been part of Margaret's setup. This time, everything will be different. Margaret, how will you try to block my path now?" Margaret smiled. "Sister, you look beautiful today. I've never seen that jewelry or dress before." Belinda replied, "Thank you. They were my mother's." She touched the blue gemstone necklace at her throat. "The sapphire you recommended truly goes well with my red dress, don't you think?" Margaret froze, confusion in her eyes. "Oh wait, was I supposed to know about a sapphire?" Raymond turned away. "Enough. Let's go. If we don't hurry, we'll be late for the tea party." Margaret called out to stop him. "Please wait. If you're really going, then there's one more thing." She lightly touched the pink gemstone necklace on her chest. "Why not exchange my necklace for sisters? What do you think?" Belinda looked at her expressionlessly. Margaret's smile was innocent and pure. Belinda stared at her coldly. She knows perfectly well this was mother's keepsake. Raymond spread his arms, startled. "Margaret, what are you saying? That belongs to Belinda." Margaret folded her hands over her chest, concern on her face. "Her Majesty the Queen dislikes overly extravagant ornaments. Those jewels must be very valuable, no? I just don't want you to be embarrassed at the tea party." Belinda lowered her gaze. "In a fair contest, I cannot win." She must be prepared for that. Then she spoke, her eyes sharp. "You aren't planning to accidentally damage this necklace, are you? Margaret leaned back, stunned. She laughed awkwardly. Bin on that finide surprise. Oh dear, did I accidentally say that out loud? Her expression remained calm. It's nothing. Then she lifted her hair to reveal the necklace along her neck and shoulders. You've misunderstood about the necklace. Her Majesty values frugality. She does not hate finery. Anyone with eyes can see that this is an inherited family heirloom. She extended a hand. If anything, wearing a brand new necklace would likely displease her more. A bead of cold sweat rolled down Margaret's face. Raymond suddenly stepped in front of Margaret. How can you reject your sister's kindness? Belinda turned and walked away, moving down the corridor. I cannot afford to be late for the tea party. Raymond thrust out an arm and shouted, Do you not see me? Belinda closed her eyes and smiled faintly. That's all right. You two don't seem interested in attending the tea party. Please stay here and enjoy yourselves. Raymond and Margaret stood there in a daze. One noblewoman whispered, Miss Belinda seems. Another replied, yes. Her manner is rather different from before. Raymond lowered his head, face dark, biting his lip. A carriage slowly pulled away. Belinda sat inside it, hands folded over her chest. My body still remembers the feelings from my past life. Regret, anger, fear. Merely seeing them is enough for emotion to flood over me like a tidal wave. But it's all right. In this life, I will not make the same mistakes. I will never again live through that nightmare. A smile bloomed across her face. Saying those unpleasant things felt unexpectedly satisfying. The last time I came to the tea party, I wore a dark-colored dress, and disapproving eyes fell on me from all around. But the queen looked straight at me, as if probing my true intentions. If I broke off the engagement and gave Raymond to Margaret, perhaps I could save my life. But if that meant sacrificing the country's future, I could never do it. I once swore to Mother that I would never give up my duty to protect this nation. She gazed down over the capital, thoughts racing. Just imagining Margaret nestled in that man's arms makes my skin crawl. She hugged herself, trembling slightly. That is why I must hone my weapon. I will use everything I learned in my past life to build a secure political position. There are 2 years until my execution. I must draw the Queen's attention again, even if it means taking risks. Belinda pushed open the door to the tea room. 2 noble women whispered, Deep crimson? Doesn't she know the dress code? And why did she come alone? Belinda walked forward and dipped in a curtsy. I humbly request an audience with Her Majesty the Queen. Now let's see whether this outfit achieves its purpose. The Queen examined Belinda with a piercing stare. Raymond suddenly appeared, Margaret clinging to his arm. Belinda's eyes narrowed. She had expected this. Raymond gave a slight bow. I deeply apologize for my lateness. The Queen's gaze passed over Raymond and settled on Margaret. Miss Margaret, I do not recall inviting you. Raymond stepped forward. Please do not blame her. This is all Belinda's fault. She refused an escort and came to the tea party alone. Margaret lowered her head in a graceful bow, speaking earnestly. Forgive me for saying so, but I will accompany Lord Raymond in my sister's place and apologize for her selfish behavior. The Queen turned to Belinda. Did you truly leave Raymond behind? Belinda lowered her gaze slightly. Yes. She cast an unhappy glance at Raymond, but I did not do so without reason. The Queen held a folding fan. In that case, we are 1 seat short. Let us do this instead. The difference in you sisters' attire is so great that no one would think you were related. If I remember correctly, the theme was spring. Belinda stood confidently in a deep red gown. Margaret wore a pink floral dress, sweet and charming. The Queen declared, We shall decide the seating by your interpretation of the theme. Margaret spoke first. If I may, I'll begin. Spring is the season when all things awaken. I chose this floral gown in hopes of bringing a fresh and lively feeling to the gathering. The noble women praised her. How lovely, Miss Margaret. The Queen's gaze shifted to Belinda. And you, Miss Belinda? Belinda stepped forward. When the snow melts, all things begin to grow. New shoots break through the earth, and flower buds prepare to bloom. I pray for the harvest yet to come. She spread her arms, her red gown blooming like a flower. That is the true meaning of spring, a grand prayer for the future. Raymond tilted his head and muttered, Autumn. In spring? How could she? Wait. Isn't that a passage from our kingdom's history books? The Queen gave a slight nod. Yes, it is from Volume 7 of the biography of Queen Heloise. Queen Heloise once attended a spring banquet in a dry grass-colored gown. Her words calmed a kingdom on the brink of unrest. She reminded the people not only to cherish the prosperity before them, but to pray for the harvest to come. On that day, Queen Heloise wore a diamond bracelet. The Queen looked at Belinda, an autumn-tone gown with antique accessories. An interesting idea. To take inspiration from Queen Heloise, a figure even scholars have nearly forgotten. The noble women murmured, Our national history? The queen continued, "Our official chronicles consist of 30 volumes. Most nobles have not even finished one. Have you really read them all?" Belinda thought to herself, "For most noble ladies, beauty matters more than knowledge. But to you, the most brilliant queen in history must surely resonate more deeply." A faint smile appeared on the queen's face. "As a future queen, you have studied well. Everyone should take Miss Belinda's diligence as an example." The noble women whispered among themselves. "Has Her Majesty smiled for the first time?" The queen gestured. "Since the arrangement is decided." She pointed to Belinda. "Sit beside me." Margaret clasped her hands together, delight on her face. "Then will Lord Raymond and I sit there too?" The queen's gaze swept over the long table. "As for our uninvited guests, add a chair wherever there is space." Margaret's eyes widened, her pupils shrinking in shock. A confident smile curled on Belinda's lips. She clenched her fist. "Now it begins." At the queen's tea party, noble women sat gathered around the table in quiet restraint. A lady in green whispered, "The queen really likes Miss Belinda. She actually let her sit beside her." Belinda's gaze swept across the opposite side of the table. Margaret and Raymond sat shoulder to shoulder, while the ladies beside them whispered, "Do you think the queen finds them? Their sudden presence rather irritating?" Margaret clenched her fists. Her knuckles turned white. Belinda raised her eyes sharply. This is unlike Margaret. She looks nervous, and the real highlight of this party is only just beginning. A maid came pushing a dessert cart loaded with exquisite sweets. The guests gasped. "Wow, so many rare desserts. There are even sweets from the royal kitchen." The queen spread her arms. "I gathered rare confections from many lands. However, because of our unexpected guests, there may not be enough to go around." She pretended to fret. "Oh dear, what shall we do?" Out of the corner of her eye, Belinda thought, "It's begun. This is the queen's test." Yuri walked alone down the empty corridor, his cloak lifting behind him. His eyes were cold. So this is the queen's tea party. His gaze passed over the crowd. Who was that woman in the vivid red gown? The queen's tea party was no ordinary gathering. She assigned a dress theme, then posed difficult questions to the ladies. Today's theme was supposed to be the border situation, but because Margaret had arrived, the topic had become how to distribute desserts. So changing my actions really can change the future. Raymond spread his palm. "The fairest way is to distribute them according to rank. Rank is bestowed upon those who serve the royal family. There is no reason to favor those who care nothing for it." Margaret looked innocent. "Since this is my fault, then I simply won't have any dessert today." Raymond put a hand to his chest in exaggerated admiration. How noble, giving up dessert for those of lower rank. A smile tugged at his mouth. Then he turned to Belinda. "Is this not the noble duty you always speak of, my dear?" The words noble duty echoed in Belinda's mind. Her violet eyes tightened at once. "That was something my late mother often said. Nobles are born bearing responsibility." Margaret smiled gently. "Please don't worry about me. I would hate for everyone to feel troubled because of me," and gave an awkward smile. The queen turned to Belinda. "Your sister has already spoken. Do you have anything to add?" Belinda turned her face and answered firmly, "I disagree." Margaret sprang to her feet. "Sister," she looked apologetic. "I came here with Lord Raymond. But there is no need to make a scene." Belinda's voice remained steady. "I do not care about that, but I see no reason and should receive dessert." Raymond frowned. "That sounds rather harsh." Belinda continued. "Her family, the Morans, has brought immense benefit to the kingdom through international trade. Judging by the appearance of these sweets, are they not from the Chrysanthemum Kingdom? And hasn't your family recently begun doing business there as well?" And straightened. "You're very well informed. We recently established ties with the king of the Chrysanthemum Kingdom and hope to distribute their rare products soon. We have piles of this kind of sweet at home." Belinda smiled and opened her hand. "But sweets made by the royal kitchen's pastry chefs must be far better than the ones you're tired of eating, don't you think?" And nodded. "Thank you for your consideration." Belinda recalled her previous life. "I had no direct dealings with the queen. I only ever saw her from afar, advising the king. I never truly considered the role she played in politics. But what if these tests carried another meaning? If my guess is correct, then gaining the queen's favor is my only path to survival between the crown prince and Margaret." The queen glared at Raymond. "You mentioned noble duty just now, did you not? You seem to misunderstand its meaning." Raymond looked stunned. "What?" The queen turned to Belinda. "What do you think, Miss Belinda?" Belinda placed a hand on her chest. Calm and composed, she rose to her feet. "Nobles enjoy privileges because of their position. Those privileges should be used to benefit others. Such goodwill must continue to be passed along. Noble duty is not an excuse for privilege. It is a warning." Raymond's face darkened. He turned his head, a cold smile touching his lips, then suddenly stood up. "How dare you lecture me with such insolence? You should be punished for defying your fiancée." He pointed at Belinda. You humiliate me in public. Is this how a future queen ought to behave? Belinda's hands hung at her sides. He wants me to apologize so he can display his superiority. But I'm no longer that girl who blindly obeyed her fiancé. She turned to the queen. Your Majesty, please forgive me. Raymond looked confused. Belinda continued, if I remain here, I will only spoil the pleasant atmosphere. The queen nodded. I understand. You may leave. We will meet again. Margaret watched Belinda's retreating back, her expression complicated, and called after her. Miss Belinda, she smiled. Please allow me to invite you to tea next time. I would like to repay your kindness. Belinda returned the smile and gave a slight wave. I look forward to it. As she walked down the corridor, she thought. The queen said, we will meet again. I do not know what she is planning, but I have certainly caught her interest. If I guess the meaning of her test correctly, then my fate is about to change. The moment I return home, I must begin preparing. Yuri stood between the pillars of the corridor. Belinda looked at him. This man was Yuri, Raymond's half-brother, the second prince. He had been raised by a marquis on the border from the royal family's maternal side, and had finally returned to the capital. They passed one another, Belinda giving a slight bow. She watched Yuri's back. He ignored me completely. Oh well, in my previous life, I never had a chance to speak with him. He seems difficult to get along with. Yuri stopped and turned his head, staring in the direction Belinda had gone. Night fell, and the palace blazed with light. Margaret stood before Belinda's desk. Sister, about today's tea party. Don't take it too much to heart. She smiled sweetly. I've already spoken to Lord Raymond. Belinda wrote at her desk, the quill scratching softly. Margaret looked down at Belinda. You really can only see what's right in front of your desk. How pitiful. She turned away. Sweet dreams, sister. The door closed gently. Belinda paused mid-stroke. Margaret, you're the one who is blind. My preparations will become the fortress that protects me. The next morning, Belinda had breakfast with her family. A servant entered. Please forgive the interruption. I come only by Her Majesty's command. Miss Belinda, the carriage for the palace has arrived. Margaret smiled. Sister, I truly did ask Lord Raymond to help. But Belinda arose from the breakfast table. Prepare a dress at once. A flicker of restrained emotion passed through her eyes. I didn't expect it to come so soon. The queen stood in the center of the great hall. This is our first private conversation, is it not? Belinda lifted her skirt and curtsied. Yes, Your Majesty. It is my honor. The queen's gaze sharpened. Spare me the courtesies. Would you be willing to become my attendant? Belinda looked up, shock flashing in her eyes. The queen added, but you must first pass a test. The examination will include etiquette, politics, historical knowledge, and recommendations from distinguished families. If you pass, the responsibilities that follow will be even more severe than the test itself. I thought it over after the tea party. You possess something I want. Of course, you may refuse. Belinda thought, so that explains it. This is the only way I can protect myself and break free from the crown prince. She looked up, smiling with bright confidence. I have decided to accept. The queen's attendants were positions reserved for experienced maids, noble women, or daughters of high officials. They were responsible for the queen's personal needs. However, the current king had no interest in politics, so the burden of governing the country fell almost entirely on the queen's shoulders. She came to rely heavily on these attendants. They were no longer merely servants. The queen required not only birth and obedience, but a sharp understanding of politics as well. And so, the attendant selection exam was born. Everything was in place. Belinda swore, I will pass the examination and not disappoint Her Majesty the Queen. The Queen's expression turned stern. Let me be clear. I will not show you favoritism. The examiners I have chosen are absolutely fair. Belinda raised her head without fear. I understand. Your Majesty, no matter what, I will become your attendant. The Queen went still for a moment. Oh, Belinda thought back on the nights of effort and smiled with confidence. Ever since the tea party, I have been preparing for this examination. With the knowledge and political experience from my past life, I cannot fail. Holding up her skirt, she walked forward with steady steps. I will not waste the opportunity Her Majesty has offered me. No matter what, I will succeed. The Queen murmured softly. What was it that changed her? A trace of doubt crossed Belinda's eyes. Your Majesty, pardon me? I did not quite hear. The Queen replied, it is nothing. A meaningful smile curved at her lips as she folded her hands before her. But your words certainly left an impression on me. On the day of the examination, noble ladies sat in small groups, whispering among themselves. Belinda descended the staircase with graceful poise, drawing many sideways glances. A pink-haired, noble girl whispered, isn't that the Duke's daughter? Another blue-haired girl answered, That's Miss Margaret, isn't it? The pink-haired girl corrected her. No, she's Prince Raymond's fiancée. The quieter, blue-haired girl added. Even a duke's daughter is taking the attendant exam? She's probably trying to curry favor with Her Majesty. Belinda walked past in silence, ignoring their chatter. They'll be eliminated soon enough. The examiners have already started observing. She lifted her teacup and took a sip. A loose tongue brings disaster. The queen sat among the examiners, tea in hand. Was I too harsh with her? The Belinda from the tea party was like a different person. It was as though she had lost everything and was now struggling desperately to win something beyond anyone's reach. Ambition shone in her eyes. She is like me, yet she has something I do not. Have I placed too much expectation on her? A court lady beside her replied, Your Majesty's judgment is rarely wrong. The queen grew thoughtful. Everything depends on today's result. The exam lasted 8 hours. The first part was a written test covering domestic and foreign noble relations, etiquette, and politics, lasting 4 hours. At the same time, it assessed document organization and the ability to receive visitors. Belinda turned over the papers. This is complex, but I've been trained for this. Trained specifically from cleaning up Raymond's messes. The second exam, the wardrobe test, required the candidates to choose suitable outfits for the Queen's public appearances. From 50 sets of clothing, they had to select the most appropriate based on purpose, politics, and etiquette. Belinda stood quietly while the other noble ladies competed in secret, their eyes clashing. Our choices must elevate the Queen's image. I don't know exactly how they're scoring us, but I'm sure the real test is the final interview. Final examination. A bespectacled male examiner sat behind a desk. You've all worked hard. We will keep the interview as brief as possible. If the king and queen were to disagree, which side would you stand on? Belinda thought, so this is the final test. Another candidate with dark blue hair raised her hand. May I answer first? She looked full of confidence. Naturally, Her Majesty the Queen's. The examiner pressed. And your reason? The dark blue-haired candidate answered. It's simple. As one of Her Majesty's attendants. Of course I should stand on her side. Belinda turned her face slightly. This is obviously a question of loyalty. But not only that. The male examiner turned to Belinda. Miss Belinda, what is your answer? Belinda's gaze was unwavering. I'm afraid I cannot give a clear-cut answer. The examiner and the other candidate both froze. Belinda explained calmly. If the question is whom I am loyal to, then I would answer Her Majesty the Queen. But if you ask whether I will always agree with her, I cannot guarantee that. I wish to serve her sincerely, and honesty is part of that. The higher one's station, the more one is surrounded by people who only nod and obey. My past life taught me that all too well. At the tea party, I merely wanted to draw the Queen's attention, but I did not disguise myself for her sake. Since the Queen liked the real me, then I must prove to her that I will never bend before power. The male examiner announced, only one candidate has passed. He picked up the list. That candidate is Miss Belinda. Belinda rose slowly, a calm smile on her face, and stepped forward. The male examiner's voice held admiration. Her scores in every subject were nearly perfect. Indeed, beyond perfect. I have never seen such detailed answers in an exam. He handed Belinda the certificate of acceptance. Please devote all your strength to serving Her Majesty the Queen as her attendant. Belinda received it with both hands. Yes, thank you very much. I will serve Her Majesty with my life. Night fell, and the palace glittered with light. Father raised his glass. Belinda, you did it. You studied on your own and passed every test without relying on the family's influence. This time as an attendant will be of great benefit when you become queen. When do you begin? Belinda answered calmly. I report to the palace tomorrow. Her eyes lowered slightly. She must find this rather unpleasant. Margaret sat at the table, watching Father praise me. She wasn't pleased in the slightest. Anger burned in Margaret's crimson eyes. Her jaw tightened. Belinda's gaze tilted toward her. But this is only the beginning. Her stepmother spoke. A duke's daughter reduced to a glorified maid. Margaret lowered her head. Mother is right. If word spreads that we are close, it will only embarrass the royal family. Is she truly hardworking or merely trying to hide her inferiority? Belinda looked at her coldly. Narrow-minded Margaret. She walked toward the closed door with steady steps. In this life, I swear it, I will reclaim everything you stole from me. Firm light shone in her violet eyes. I will rise at the side of the Queen, the one who can change my fate, and then I will crush each of you one by one. No matter how difficult the path ahead may be. Belinda held her books, her fingertips tightening slightly. My first day of work. It would be a lie to say I'm not nervous. Her gaze was steady as she stepped forward. But there is no turning back now. the breakfast gathering of the queen and king. Influential nobles were all in attendance. This was an important event for the attendants, and my first duty. She handed the queen a letter, and the queen glanced sideways at her with a smile. Belinda recalled, smile calmly and without pressure. From the corner of her eye, she noticed another figure drawing near. That woman was one of the queen's attendants, Lady Karen. Karen held a water pitcher, her gaze sharp. It seems she doesn't like me. The king sighed, propping his chin on one hand as he looked at Belinda. The prince's fiancée, and now the queen's attendant. Well, now this is. I remember allowing her to take the exam, but I never thought she would actually pass. Belinda closed her eyes, a knowing smile curving her lips. So that's why he allowed it so easily. I knew it. The king went on. In any case, this is hardly work suitable for a young lady who is already engaged. One attendant carrying a tray crossed paths with another. Honestly, I can't believe he said that. Most of the attendants here are unmarried, noble women. Unbelievable. Yet he is the ruler of a foreign land. So long as a woman belongs to this society, she cannot escape that fate. Our worth is determined by marriage. Even that is a system men take for granted, stealing away all our efforts and achievements. The queen called for Belinda. A letter was handed to her. It seems we have a visitor. The letter was from Lady Karina. Belinda fell into thought. If she is an old friend of the queen's. The queen spoke up. What is on my schedule tomorrow afternoon? Belinda answered. You have a meeting with the Merchants Guild, but it is not urgent. We can make time. The queen closed her eyes in satisfaction. You did well on your first day. Make the preparations. Belinda placed a hand over her chest. Her Majesty praised me. She gave a slight bow. The other attendants looked shocked. Margaret clasped her hands together, eyes full of anticipation. Welcome back, sister. Wasn't work tiring? Belinda looked exhausted. After a long day of work, she still had to deal with Margaret. What a miserable life. Margaret stayed on her heels. I am curious. What kind of work did you do today? Belinda closed her eyes. I'm afraid I can't reveal royal secrets. Margaret put her hands on her hips and puffed out her cheeks, her expression changing in an instant. But we're family. She grabbed Belinda's hand. Did you mess up on your very first day? Are you trying to hide it? The queen is a strict person. People are saying she doesn't like you, sister. Belinda shook off her hand and smiled calmly. Her Majesty is quite satisfied. She turned to leave. I still have much to learn, but I'll work even harder so I won't disappoint her expectations. Margaret hurried after her, worry on her face. But you suddenly became an attendant. Prince Raymond is worried too. Belinda kept her eyes ahead. He has no reason to worry. I even received His Majesty the King's permission. Margaret continued. There's a young lady named Karen, right? I heard one of the attendants doesn't come from a very good background. She was originally the daughter of a marquis family. They say she had several marriage prospects, but then her parents died and left behind a huge debt. Belinda stopped walking. How unfortunate. Margaret covered her mouth. Yes, so pitiful. There was malice hidden in her smile. Burdened by debt, unable to marry, and forced to become an attendant. She must feel terribly ashamed. Belinda's gaze stayed calm. So that marquis family fell because of debt. Margaret went on. That's why I'm worried, sister. You're the crown prince's fiancée. You'll make the other attendants uncomfortable. It must be awful to work while being hated. Belinda sneered inwardly. What clumsy brainwashing. But I won't fall for it again. She turned to face Margaret. I don't think Lady Karen is pitiful. Isn't it admirable that she's working hard to support herself? She turned away. I need to prepare for tomorrow. Margaret's smile vanished. She bit down hard. Good night. Then the queen's voice came. It's been a long time. Karina. Lady Karina bowed. No need for formalities, Your Majesty. The queen spoke. Let's skip the stiff greetings. She turned slightly and ordered Belinda, Karen. Prepare some tea. Karen turned to Belinda. I'll go receive the lady. Can you prepare the tea set? Belinda answered. Of course. Karen's eyes were sharp. Make sure there are no mistakes. Belinda thought to herself, choosing a tea set is not simple. You have to consider the occasion, the season, the queen's mood, and the guest's preferences. But today, the most important thing is to choose the right set. Her fingers brushed over the rims of the cups. It's ready. Karen scrutinized her. Why did you choose this set? Belinda replied calmly. Lady Karina comes from the cold northern region of the kingdom. I chose a refreshing tea set so she can fully enjoy the feeling of early summer. And I believe this set pairs well with Lady Karen's tea leaves. The summer-themed table setting was your creation, so I thought a tea like butterfly pea flower tea would further enhance the atmosphere. She poured the tea into the cup. A clear blue hue bloomed inside. Karina admired it. What a beautiful color. The tea matches the cups perfectly. The queen smiled. Yes, I only bought this tea set a few days ago. She turned to Karen. You've done enough. You may leave now. Then an angry shout rang out. Weren't there other green tea sets? That one is cute too. Yet you deliberately chose this set. The queen told you to, didn't she? Belinda spoke calmly. Because she's Her Majesty's close friend, I chose the newest set rather than an older one she had already seen. Karen looked at her with disdain. As expected of a duke's daughter and the prince's fiancée, you could tell the new set apart from a whole shelf of polished teaware. All the knowledge I struggled to learn must be something you were simply born with. Belinda lifted her eyes. I know you've had to learn many things just to survive, but so have I. Karen glared at her. You dare say you've struggled too? Do you know my family background? Do you know what we've been through? Don't think that just because you're the queen's favorite, I'll flatter you, she shouted. I despise people who enjoy privilege as if it's their birthright. Belinda thought, ever since I heard Margaret yesterday, I've been wondering, is Lady Karen really just a fallen noble? Those distinctive, shining eyes. Could Lady Karen be? She folded her hands before her and looked deeply thoughtful. An attendant's life may teach me more than I expected. A few weeks after Belinda became one of the Queen's attendants, she had mostly mastered her duties. Then an important event arrived. The garden banquet was crowded with guests. The fountain shimmered. Exquisite dishes lined the tables, with bottles of wine resting nearby. The head attendant warned them, this is an important political dinner. We must remain vigilant. The attendants answered at once. Understood, Belinda thought. We are welcoming distinguished guests from the kingdom of Harmelsib, including Count Shuril. The queen will entertain him before the trade negotiations, so the atmosphere is tenser than usual. Still, given Lady Karen's circumstances, being able to meet guests from the Western Kingdom is a stroke of luck. The queen approached slowly. Belinda's gaze passed over the crowd, and her pupils narrowed slightly. She saw a figure. Why is Raymond here? It is natural for the crown prince to receive important guests, but he usually leaves it to his subordinates. The attendant standing behind Raymond kept his head lowered, looking uneasy. Belinda and the other attendants stood in line. A bad feeling rose within her. At the banquet, Raymond called out Belinda. Belinda. Belinda closed her eyes and forced a faint smile. Wonderful. She turned to him. Is there something I can help you with? Raymond spread his hands. You're an attendant, aren't you? Then hurry and pour the tea. Belinda picked up the teapot and poured. Raymond announced loudly. See, I told you. The future king of this country is going to marry an attendant. Belinda lowered her eyes. So he had me brought here today just to humiliate me. These diplomats may as well not exist. Raymond folded his hands and curled his lips in satisfaction. The crown prince's fiancée is playing servant. If I break off the engagement now, you won't have a word to say, will you? Belinda's eyes swept over him. I once tried so hard to please him, only to protect my mother's rightful ducal house. But things are different now. She looked utterly unconcerned. Even if the engagement is broken, I wouldn't care in the slightest. Raymond's pupil shrank. What? Belinda continued. First of all, I am not pretending to be an attendant. I am Her Majesty the Queen's officially appointed attendant. Raymond froze in place. Others around them looked over in alarm. Raymond crossed his arms. Oof, it won't last long anyway. Belinda thought. Whenever things don't go his way, he just starts shouting. Before he could cause more trouble, Karen stepped closer. Pardon me, Lady Belinda. Her Majesty is looking for you. Belinda nodded. Understood. She lifted her skirt slightly. Then, everyone, I will excuse myself. Raymond sat in his chair, arms crossed, face dark. The old Belinda would have panicked by now and done everything she could to please me. He gritted his teeth. At this important political event, I should have humiliated her completely. How dare she waste my time like this? I'll make you regret it. The queen sat across from Count Shuril, with elegant sweets arranged on the table. The count smiled as he spoke. These sweets looked delicious. One of the interpreters had gone pale and stammered as he related. He says these sweets look delicious as well. Belinda observed from the side. The count's accent is very strong. No wonder the interpreter looked so strained. The queen must have noticed something was wrong. The queen answered gracefully. Compared to your country's architectural techniques, this garden is quite modest. If we can exchange not only iron, but technology as well, it would benefit both nations. Sweat formed on the interpreter's brow. Architecture, compared to your country's weapons manufacturing. Belinda's eyes narrowed at once. This is a misunderstanding and a terrible one. In some strongly accented regions, the word for architecture can also refer to weapons manufacturing. Harmel and our kingdom were in a Cold War not long ago. This could be taken as the queen making a joke about war. We have to fix this without making the interpreter lose face. The interpreter pressed a hand to his mouth, clearly flustered. Belinda looked at Karen. You noticed it too. Karen gave a slight smile. Just as I thought. Speaking of weapons manufacturing, she smiled and began to speak. The grand cathedrals of the Kingdom of Harmel are famous in our country as well. Her Majesty has mentioned before that she hopes to see them with her own eyes someday. She placed a hand over her chest. My apologies. I got a little carried away. Count Shural's eyes lit up. You speak the Western dialect of Harmel? Then realization crossed his face. I see now. I nearly forgot how heavy my accent is. I thought Her Majesty was alluding to the war of the past. Belinda corrected him. When speaking of grand cathedrals, the word used was architecture, not weapons manufacturing. Surprise flashed in the interpreter's eyes. Good heavens, I didn't mean architecture. Was my pronunciation really that bad? Count Shural laughed in relief. So that's what it was. Thanks to this excellent attendant, please tell Her Majesty that I would be delighted to guide her through the grand cathedrals. The interpreter announced loudly. He says he would like to invite Her Majesty to visit the kingdom of Harmel. Approval flashed through the queen's eyes. She looked at Belinda, her gaze gentle. Karen sat at the desk, her quill scratching over the paper. Belinda stood nearby. I was ignored again today. Karen looked up, but I was happy to talk about Harmel today. Belinda lowered her eyes slightly. Yes, I'm very interested in the culture there. Karen said softly. You're right. It truly is a completely different country from this one. Her eyes softened. It is a kind and gentle land. Belinda asked, you noticed the mistranslation too, didn't you? Why didn't you point it out? Karen replied, we are women. In this country, we must never appear too capable. Yet you keep doing things that only make men resent you. Belinda spread her hands. So what? We have our duties. Karen glared at her, correcting an interpreter in public and even talking back to your fiancé. It must be easy for you, as the crown prince's fiancé and a duke's daughter. Do you think your status lets you do as you please? Once your fiancé abandons you, you'll lose everything. And by the time you're cast aside with a reputation for clinging, it will be too late for regret. Belinda stood still in surprise. I thought she simply hated me. Was she worried about me? Determination shone in her eyes. No need to worry. In fact, breaking off the engagement is exactly my goal right now. Karen stared in shock. Breaking off the engagement is your goal? Belinda nodded. Yes. Karen lowered her eyes. You don't understand reality. She looked up furious. In noble society, growing old alone because no man chooses you is a miserable thing. A noble woman without family support is worth nothing. Belinda remembered Margaret's words. I heard one of the attendants comes from a poor background. She came from a marquis family and once had many suitors, but her parents died and left enormous debts. Belinda thought, even someone that capable has her whole life ruled by marriage. In this life, I finally understand that suffocating feeling. Then the head attendant, her dark hair pinned up, peeked in through the door. She walked over to Belinda and Karen. So you're both here. Perfect. The queen has summoned you for this week's ball. Karen asked, why us? Belinda closed her eyes, already understanding. The head attendant explained. Many foreign guests will attend the ball, so the queen needs attendants proficient in foreign languages. Then she covered her mouth in surprise. Though I had no idea Lady Karen was also so skilled with languages. Belinda's expression remained calm, so Her Majesty knew everything all along. Lady Karen is the sister-in-law of Victor Casas, the man who became a diplomat at a young age. Golden eyes, fluent Harmelian, the decline of a marquis family. Every clue points to one name, the diplomat Victor Casas. 5 years ago, he had only been a young man from Harmel, yet he became our country's first foreign diplomat. By the time I was executed, he had already risen to great success. There were rumors that he had blood ties in our country. He must be Lady Karen's relative. Hiding a connection to a fallen noble family is politically common, especially since he is a foreigner and was pushed aside by Raymond's faction. But if I form an alliance with Lady Karen, I may be able to open a new path. The grand ballroom blazed with light. Guests stood in small groups. The queen emerged slowly, with Belinda and Karen beside her. The queen softly called Belinda's name. She smiled faintly. It seems you found the person you were looking for. Belinda replied quietly. You saw through everything, didn't you? The queen said, you always notice more than I do. The guests stood in solemn rows to either side. The king sat beneath the throne, and the atmosphere was formal. Then a stir ran through the crowd. Belinda's attention was drawn to it. Why are they here? Margaret appeared at the ballroom entrance with her arm linked through Raymond's. The guests whispered among themselves. Her hair color is different from Lady Belinda's. Another guest added, that's the other daughter of Duke Wald's house. Belinda's heart sank. I remember that in my previous life, I was forced to attend a ball with Raymond. I never imagined it was this very day. She looked around. Where did Lady Karen go? Raymond bowed. Father, mother, are you enjoying the evening? The queen's face darkened. We were until just now. Margaret clasped her hands to her chest, her face full of apology. This is all my fault. I humbly beg your pardon, your majesty. She lowered her gaze. I should have refused Lord Raymond's invitation. I had heard that the ball held by your majesty would be magnificent, and I simply could not suppress my desire to see it for myself. Then she turned to Belinda, and I could not bear the thought of Lord Raymond being alone. Because of my selfish sister. Belinda looked disgusted. What a sickening performance. Raymond held out a hand. What a considerate younger sister. Margaret is the ideal woman. She always makes up for her sister's shortcomings. He looked at Belinda. Yet you chose trivial tasks over your fiancé and neglected him. Did House Waldron never teach you that a woman's duty is to support her man? Then a knight announced loudly, His Highness Prince Yuri, the second prince, has arrived. Prince Yuri strode into the hall in a dark blue military uniform, the gold fringe on his epaulets gleaming. His gaze was calm as deep water. The guests murmured. The second prince actually came to the ball. I thought he hated social gatherings. Young ladies flushed red, whispering excitedly to one another. Prince Yuri placed one hand over his chest and acknowledged them with a slight bow. Margaret lifted her pink skirt and curtsied lightly. It is an honor to meet you. Prince Yuri ignored her and walked straight toward the throne. He knelt on one knee. Your Majesties, King and Queen, I offer you my greetings. The queen smiled. I'm glad to see you. Ah, and there is someone I would like to introduce to you as well. Her gaze turned behind her. This is my attendant, Belinda. Belinda curtsied lightly. I am Belinda of Duke Wald's house. It is an honor to meet you. Prince Yuri answered in person. Please raise your head. Belinda looked up. Their eyes met. The guests sighed in admiration. They looked like a match made in heaven. Like figures in a painting. Raymond was furious. How dare he ignore Margaret? Yuri answered calmly. She is not a member of the royal family, nor was she formally invited to the ball. Raymond declared loudly, but she is my partner for tonight. Prince Yuri turned his head. Isn't Lady Belinda your fiancée? A complicated emotion flashed through Belinda's eyes. She was confused. Since when did he dare speak to his elder brother like this? Raymond shouted, Margaret is here because Belinda failed to fulfill her duty. She has made me, a member of the royal family, lose face. He gave a contemptuous laugh. A country bumpkin born of some backwater concubine probably wouldn't understand. Yuri's expression darkened. What did you say? Raymond spread his arms with an innocent look. Oh, so you heard me? I suppose your ears are sharp, having grown up on that filthy frontier. In an instant, Prince Yuri struck, seizing Raymond by the throat. Raymond's eyes widened as he couldn't breathe. The guests screamed, Prince Yuri! Yuri's gaze was icy. Were you just insulting the frontier marquis? But she stepped forward. The two of you get along so well. Just like kittens play fighting. Yuri let go, and Raymond coughed violently. Belinda said in admiration, Prince Yuri's bravery truly lives up to his reputation, just as expected from someone who once served under the Western Frontier Marquis. After the ball, however strong his contempt may be, Raymond muttered under his breath, savage. He grabbed Margaret's hand. We're leaving. Prince Yuri lowered his gaze. My apologies. I did not mean to cause trouble. Belinda looked at him calmly. It's all right. Please be more careful in the future. Prince Yuri replied. Understood. Belinda smiled faintly. To be honest, that conduct was not fitting for the second prince. But I understand what it is like to lose family and be looked down on. If someone insulted my late mother, I would do the same. Prince Yuri's blue eyes rested on Belinda. For a moment, neither spoke. Belinda lifted her skirt and curtsied. I seem to have lost track of Lady Karen. So if you'll excuse me. She walked alone down the corridor, her steps heavy with fatigue. Where did Lady Karen go? Then a voice called out, Are you still working after hours? Belinda suddenly looked up, surprise flashing in her eyes. Lady Karen was surrounded by a group of noble women. They covered their mouths as they laughed. I thought you had gone off to a brothel. Karen lowered her eyes. Her golden pupils were dull, and her hands were clasped tightly. Her posture had gone stiff. Belinda watched from behind the wall. They're the women who came to the palace for practical training last time. The rings on their ring fingers glittered. They must be happily retired now, but they seemed to have a grudge against Lady Karen. One lady whispered with curled lips, Life must be hard for a fallen noble. There are terrifying debt collectors in society too. Another woman chimed in. A queen's attendant's salary could never repay debts like that. I even heard rumors that you nearly ended up in a brothel. Her face wore false concern. I'm just so glad to see you're safe. Then a blonde noblewoman said sharply, But no matter how much pity one feels, it's terribly improper for someone like you to appear at a ball. If you're trying to hook a rich husband, you should go somewhere more suited to your station. Belinda listened closely. They know she is here by the queen's command. So what exactly are they trying to do? The blonde noblewoman shouted, We saw you speaking with the son of Marquis Ellington. With her arms folded, she snapped, How can you be so shameless? Belinda's pupils contracted. His son, Ethan Ellington. He seems to be a high official in the Ministry of Internal Affairs. He fawned over Raymond. At the time of my execution, he was already a bureaucrat. But in neither my past life nor this one did I ever hear anything about him being a libertine. The blonde woman shoved Karen roughly. Don't just stand there and say something. Karen raised her head, her eyes resolute. I am a queen's attendant. Therefore, I must avoid causing trouble within the royal palace. The blonde woman roared. Now you're pretending to have manners? How irritating. Do you think invoking the queen's name makes you special? Even a brothel wouldn't want the likes of you. Stop getting close to men from our class. Belinda stood at a distance, listening to those unbearable words. This is exactly like when Raymond used to insult me in my previous life. Back then, I had no power to answer back. But now she clenched her fist and stepped forward. Weren't you the ones who used to condemn us for taking side jobs? And now you'll do anything for money, won't you? You seem to be enjoying this. Everyone turned in alarm. Karen also forgot herself for a moment, surprise flickering in her eyes. Lady Belinda, several noble women stammered out greetings. It is an honor to see you. We heard you became one of the Queen's attendants. How wonderful. I heard you speak many languages, and today we even saw you chatting happily with guests from every nation. Belinda looked expressionless. Is that all you wish to say? If there's anyone you ought to praise, shouldn't it be Lady Karen? Everyone knows she became one of the Queen's attendants despite having no backing at all. And today, she was personally chosen by the Queen to attend this ball. To question Lady Karen's ability is to question the Queen's judgment. Her eyes sharpened. Do you understand that? The women froze, barely daring to breathe. Belinda smiled faintly. Of course, that is not what you meant, is it? There's no need to push things too far. No one has stopped. I simply cannot tolerate people mocking those who work hard. Please remember that well. The women trembled and nodded over and over. Yes. Belinda waved them off in dismissal. Karen turned away. I didn't ask you to step in. Belinda looked at her back. I wasn't helping you. Karen frowned. Then why? Belinda thought for a moment. I was only doing it for the sake of my former self. She spoke slowly. I was simply angry. Angry at those women mocking your hard work, and angry at you for enduring it in silence. Karen lowered her eyes. There was nothing else I could do. You know that. I have nothing. Belinda pressed her. By that, do you mean no fiancé or no home to return to? Karen shouted emotionally. Both. What exactly are you trying to do? Do you enjoy forcing me to say it out loud? Belinda looked at her quietly. Knowing how hard you've worked is worth far more than titles or marriage. Karen averted her eyes. You don't understand how I feel at all. The palace dome bathed in the morning light. The Queen sat at the head seat, reviewing documents. The attendants each carried out their duties in the office. Belinda held a bundle of papers. Even after yesterday's argument, Lady Karen is still competent. She lowered her gaze, but all I did was make her angry. Our relationship hasn't progressed at all. She probably hates me even more now. Then an attendant with long pink hair entered. I brought the letters, Lady Belinda. There's one for you as well. Belinda took the envelope. It bore N's Elegance seal. The paper held familiar, neat handwriting. To Lady Belinda, how have you been lately? Everyone is saying you became one of the Queen's attendants. I wanted to invite you to tea sooner, but I know you must be busy with work. Once things settle down, I truly hope to see you again. Your most devoted admirer, Anne. Belinda finished reading and smiled warmly. Karen reached out. Hurry, and handed over. She picked up another letter. Belinda thought, she's so sure that letter is for her. Could it be a love letter from the Marquis's son? Karen walked toward the Queen. Your Majesty, there was an error among the letters we just received. I will correct it at once. The Queen looked up. Go ahead. Belinda watched Karen's back. That doesn't sound like an excuse to meet a lover. So she really does have some connection to Ethan Ellington. Belinda stood. Your Majesty, I will take care of this document at once. Her eyes were firm. Would you entrust it to me? The Queen gave a slight nod. I'll leave it to you. I trust you. Belinda turned away. If my intuition is right, this is my best chance to win her over. Belinda walked alone through the courtyard. A voice carried over. This is everything Father knows. What could a mere attendant possibly know? A dark-haired man held some documents and murmured to Karen beside him. When will Her Majesty finally realize the truth? Karen lowered her head. I'm only an attendant. I'm afraid I can't understand something so complex. The dark-haired man sneered. He tucked the documents away. So this is Ethan, the son of Marquis Ellington. Ethan said, you seem more tense than usual. I heard 2 old women were quarreling yesterday. Karen glanced at him sidelong. Did you hear anything from them? Ethan smiled slyly. After the ball, I met with a few people involved in my side business. They still haven't realized that I've already become their new employer. Belinda's pupil shrank. That sinister smile. I remember it now. In my previous life, he was always mocking me just to win Raymond's favor. I truly hate this man. No matter how desperate Karen may be, I can't believe she would choose someone like him. Ethan pressed a hand to his forehead. Women are so noisy. Yesterday, they were complaining to me and the ministry officials too, especially about Lady Belinda. Karen's expression shifted subtly, as if she were thinking something over. Ethan's eyes turned cold. That woman will get what's coming to her soon enough. Karen pressed him. What do you mean by that? Ethan held out a hand. That is a secret between Lord Raymond and me. If you want to know more, he pinched Karen's chin. Then take my money into the state council and bring me back something valuable. His eyes gleamed. Or would you prefer that I send debt collectors back to your house again? Karen looked away. I'll think about it. Belinda suddenly understood. I see. She was being coerced into espionage, but she never accepted payment and only fed him useless information. To eliminate the corruption and to help her, there's only one thing I can do. She stepped out. Lady Karen, so this is where you were. The two of them turned in shock at the sound. Belinda said, sorry to interrupt, Lady Karen. I'm on my way to the furnace. She held up the documents in her hand. Her Majesty ordered these handled urgently. They absolutely must not fall into anyone else's hands. There's no need for both of you to go. Please deal with them here. Karen took the papers, uncertainty in her eyes. Belinda smiled. Then, Lord Ethan, if you'll excuse me. Ethan watched Belinda's retreating back thoughtfully, then curled his lips in a cold smile. Inside the state council chamber, officials sat around a long table. Belinda and Karen stood by to assist. Not only was Prince Yuri there, even Lord Raymond was as well. So my plan really worked. An elderly official arranged his papers. Then today's agenda is concluded, is it not? Ethan suddenly rose to his feet. Please wait. He braced both hands on the table. I request permission to speak on a matter concerning Her Majesty the Queen. A trace of a smile flashed in Raymond's eyes, as though everything were proceeding exactly as planned. The elderly official looked up. Permission granted. Ethan's voice rang through the chamber. Forgive my boldness, but it appears Her Majesty the Queen accepted a bribe in exchange for iron mine concessions. The elderly official blanched. Impossible. There must be some mistake. Ethan held the document high. I have proof here. The elderly official took it, frowning. This is part of an account ledger. The Queen took the document and examined the handwriting. Her tone remained calm. It is indeed mine. Ethan burst out. So you really did take dirty money and grant them favors? Can we truly let this pass? Even royalty must be severely punished. The Queen set down the document. Where did you get this? Ethan became uneasy. That isn't important right now. Are you trying to divert our attention? The Queen replied sharply. It is important. Where did you get this discarded ledger? Ethan went pale. The Queen's voice stayed steady. I recognize this amount. It is the money I paid the mine owner to purchase iron ore. In other words, it is an expense, not income. A few days ago, I had an attendant dispose of it. Where did you get it? Ethan's face went rigid, his teeth clenched. He glared at Karen. How dare you set me up? Marquis Ellington exploded with fury. My son has committed such outrageous conduct? Our Ministry of Internal Affairs knew nothing of this. Belinda's eyes turned cold. So he abandoned his own son just like that. They use attendants and ministry employees for side schemes. That sudden change in attitude is proof enough. Now that the debts have been repaid, they have only grown bolder. Yuri spoke calmly. Brother, weren't you friends with the son of Marquis Ellington? Raymond whipped around. We are not. Yuri continued. But didn't you invite him to Fox Palace to play cards and go hunting with you? Just 3 days ago? Since you say you're not friends, then you won't mind punishing him yourself, will you? Why are you so flustered? It almost seems as if you have something to hide. Raymond raised a hand and spoke loudly. Arrest this fool who dared insult the Queen. He turned sideways toward Yuri. Do you still think I look suspicious? Stop talking nonsense. Ethan's face turned white. What? Two guards stepped forward and seized Ethan by the arms. All right, move. Ethan's face twisted in rage. He suddenly pointed at Karen. That horse set me up. Yuri slammed Ethan to the floor. Ethan cried out in pain. Let go of me. Yuri turned to the guards, his gaze cold. This time, don't let him escape. The guards immediately stepped forward. Yes, sir. Belinda watched Yuri's back. In my previous life, he always kept away from politics and trouble. What changed him? The Queen sat upon her throne, looking down at Belinda and Karen below. Regarding this incident, Karen, is there anything you wish to say? Karen kept her head lowered. I'm deeply sorry. Ethan threatened me, and I have been leaking your information. I am prepared to accept any punishment. The queen turned to Belinda, just as she said, "What punishment do you think is appropriate?" Belinda answered calmly, "Suspend her for 1 week, then raise her salary." "What do you think?" Karen looked at Belinda in shock. Belinda went on, "Leaking your information is certainly a grave crime, but it could also be said that she protected your position by confusing the enemy. Besides, all the information she gave them was worthless." A faint smile rose at the queen's lips, and approval shone in her eyes. "Karen, I have always known you were acting as a spy." Karen's pupils widened instantly. "What?" The queen continued. "Turning attendants into informants is a common tactic, especially when the people in the Ministry of Internal Affairs dislike me. You likely began feeding them information around that time. I intended to use that to sweep them all up in one stroke, but the plan did not go well because you never leaked anything important." Karen bowed deeply. "I'm truly sorry." Belinda was filled with awe. Her Majesty is truly remarkable. How much has she seen through? Raymond and Margaret actually killed someone this capable. With only my position as the Queen's attendant, can I really stand against them? Gratitude shone in Karen's eyes. "Belinda, thank you. Because you kept following me, I never imagined Ethan could be brought down that way. If you were not a woman, you would be far better suited to being a politician. I have a half-brother who was born in Harmel, but is now an official here. Sometimes I hear him talk about his work. The way you were thinking just now was exactly like my brother." She turned to the Queen. "I'm deeply sorry for what happened this time. If you can forgive me, I will devote everything I have to serving you." The Queen looked at her. "For now, I will choose to believe you." Light flared in Belinda's eyes. In this country, the positions that hold real power are official posts. Anyone from a noble family can take the civil service examination. If one keeps rising through the bureaucracy, one can become part of the very core of this nation's politics. And yet, not a single woman has ever served as a court official. In that case, I think I found my path. The Queen's lips curved slightly. "Just as I thought, you will become the first female bureaucrat." Belinda sat alone at a desk and stretched wearily. Even after saying that to Her Majesty, becoming a bureaucrat won't be easy. I became an attendant to find a new patron, but that alone isn't enough to escape the fate of my previous life. She held the window frame and gazed out at the rain. "If I become a bureaucrat, I can carve out another path. But will they accept my application?" The civil service exam is administered by the Ministry of Internal Affairs, and the person in charge of that department only grants exam eligibility to nobles with highly influential letters of recommendation. There is no formal restriction by gender, but they will never approve a woman to sit for the exam. Then I must make them approve me. All I need is one recommendation powerful enough to force the Minister of Internal Affairs to keep silent. Fortunately, I have just the person in mind. I once thought Mother was my only ally, but that was not true. My first test is that person. But just in case, I need a backup plan. Margaret clung to her father's arm, smiling brightly. What color dress would be best for the ball? Her mother nestled against her husband on the other side. As Duke Wald's daughter, Margaret must stand out, but in just the right way. "Darling, shall we buy her a new dress?" The man smiled. "Of course. We'll buy her the one that suits her best." The three held each other close, forming the picture of a perfect family. And there was no place for me in it. Belinda stood outside the door, staring at the dazzling scene. In the past, I would have turned around and left, but now she stepped forward. "Excuse me." Margaret turned back in surprise. "Sister, you rarely come by when father is working." Her stepmother chimed in. "That's right, at a time when he's so busy." "Dear." Belinda looked directly at her father. "Father, there is something I wish to discuss with you." He frowned. "Can't you see I'm busy?" Father's rejection was something I had long grown used to. But now, if I want the attention of the head of the family, it is actually very simple. Belinda spoke evenly. "This concerns the interests of our family." Her father's brow rose slightly. He looked at the two beside him. "This matter does not concern you. Both of you leave." Margaret looked stunned. "What?" Her father's tone allowed no disobedience. "You mean we have to go?" Margaret glared at Belinda in anger. The door closed behind them. Her father asked, "So, what is it you want to discuss?" Belinda declared calmly, "I want to take the civil service exam." Her father refused at once. "Absolutely not." He held his forehead, looking weary. "I thought you became an attendant to prepare to become queen. A bureaucrat's work is for men." Belinda said, "I've read the examination rules. There is not a single clause forbidding women from taking it, so there should be no problem with my becoming an official." Her father shouted, "Nonsense! What benefit would that bring to our house?" Belinda met his gaze. "Father, you have no male heir." Father was always cold to me. He took out all his anger on me because Mother bore him a daughter. To preserve the ducal house, you would eventually have to adopt a boy from a branch family. But that would weaken the influence of the main house. That is why you push for my engagement to Lord Raymond, isn't it? But father, is that truly the best choice? Her father froze slightly. Belinda continued, Lord Raymond has vast connections in political circles. If I marry him, the ducal estate will fall completely under his control. To protect the main house, we would end up as his puppets. Her father looked down at her. And you think making a woman the head of the house would change the balance of power? You are too naive. Belinda placed a hand over her chest. Father, you stand to lose nothing. If I fail the exam, I alone will be the one disgraced. But if I succeed, I will surely bring profit to our family. I will not cause you any trouble. There's only one thing I need. Her father looked out the window. What do you want? Belinda answered, a letter of recommendation to take the exam. The Duke of Wald's household stands at the highest level of the nobility. The Ministry of Internal Affairs could never ignore a recommendation written by the Duke himself. She turned to leave. The application deadline is next week. I await your favorable reply, and smiled. Thank you so much for inviting me today. The rain had passed, and the sky had cleared. The heavy downpour from earlier felt like an illusion. It must be heaven blessing our reunion. Belinda smiled back. I was happy to receive your letter, and clasped her hands. I wanted to see you for so long, but I knew you were busy at the palace. Just receiving a reply from you in the middle of all that made me so excited. And to think you even held a tea party for me. I am truly touched. Delicate refreshments were arranged across the table, with the strawberry cake especially tempting. I'm glad my preparations pleased her. If I cannot get father's recommendation, she is my backup plan. If I entertain her well, I can naturally steer the conversation toward the real issue. Belinda smiled. I'm glad to hear that. Then let us begin, and ask directly, what is the purpose of our meeting today? If there is anything I can do to help you, I will be more than happy to. A flicker of unease passed through her eyes. Oh dear, is it because I'm the daughter of a murderer? It seems I still can't break this habit of asking questions so bluntly. Ever since I received the invitation from the ducal house, I've been wondering if there was some reason behind it. Belinda lifted her teacup. This girl is sharper than I thought. Perhaps I could be honest with her. She set the cup down. Then I will be frank. I intend to become a bureaucrat. I need a letter of recommendation for the civil service exam. Though it is hardly a ladylike request, I was hoping to rely on your father's connections to help me obtain one. His father had become one of the richest merchants in the country through trade. He must also have close ties with influential nobles. And lowered her head, caught off guard by this unexpected turn. Someone with the potential to become queen. Why would she want to become a bureaucrat? Even if you succeed, you'll face countless hardships. Belinda explained, I want to start over. I don't want to remain a man's accessory anymore. This time, I want to stand on my own 2 feet. Nobles care only about bloodlines. Women are tools for marriage alliances. Commoners are exploited by the nobility. Everything I once silently accepted and gave up on. Now all of a sudden, I hate it. I can't stand seeing people who work hard being mocked and trampled on. And listen quietly. Belinda continued, so the only thing I can do now is become a bureaucrat and gain an independent identity. I once thought it was only for my own protection, but now, as a bureaucrat, I have a real goal I want to achieve. Sunlight filled the room, and confidence shone across Belinda's face. I don't just want to change my own future. I want to change this country. I want to create a just future. A light flickered in Anne's eyes. A just future. Her gaze softened. I understand. Thank you for trusting me. For the sake of that future, I will gather every letter of recommendation you need. Please, you must pass the civil service exam. Belinda clasped her hands lightly. Thank you. I will give it everything I have as I step into the world of bureaucracy. A week had passed since the tea party. In Belinda's room in the capital lay a stack of recommendation letters. All of them had been secured except for her father's. Her eyes were resolute. All right, it's time to turn my ideals into reality. The family sat around the long dining table. Margaret said thoughtfully, come to think of it, I haven't seen sister all morning. A maid entered carrying dishes. Do you mean Lady Belinda? She left in a carriage quite some time ago. Margaret looked confused. Where does she be going so early? Father, do you know? Her father said nothing. Margaret frowned slightly. I just hope she's not off doing something strange. Her mother turned to Margaret. What do you mean by that? Margaret spoke with displeasure. Sister actually invited Lady and into the ducal residence. The daughter of a mere baron. Her mother widened her eyes. The daughter of a lower-ranking noble house. Unbelievable. Margaret continued complaining, and a few days ago, she even made us leave so she could ask Father for something in private. I'm worried, Father. What do you say? Suddenly, her father stood up from the table, both hands braced against it. Prepare the carriage. I'm going out. Margaret froze in place. It was the first time. Why had Father ignored her? Her hands clenched the fabric of her dress so tightly her knuckles turned white. Wasn't Belinda the one who should have been ignored? The Ministry of Internal Affairs hall was spacious and bright. The chandeliers were splendid. Belinda approached the front desk. "Is this the information desk for the Ministry of Internal Affairs?" The clerk looked up. "Yes. Are you here to find your husband?" Belinda's gaze remained calm. "I'm here to submit my application for the civil service exam." The clerk stared at her in shock. "But you're a lady." Belinda countered. "Have you not read the application guidelines? There is no clause in the examination rules prohibiting women from taking it." The clerk grew agitated. "Even so, there's no precedent. I don't know which noble house you belong to, but I absolutely cannot accept such a thing." A faint smile touched Belinda's lips. "Is that so? I wonder if you'll still say the same thing after seeing these." She slapped a stack of letters down on the desk. The clerk's eyes were glued to them. "What are these?" Belinda replied evenly. "As you can see, letters of recommendation. Naturally, they are all addressed to me. I am Belinda Wald of the House of Duke Wald." The clerk stammered. "Why, you're Prince Raymond's fiancée. His Highness has always been very good to us. We'll do our best to accommodate you." Then his tone shifted. "But it seems you still do not have your father's recommendation." Belinda thought for a moment. "For a man, these would already be more than enough. But for me, the most important letter has yet to arrive." The clerk went on. "To let a young lady take such a difficult exam without her guardian's permission is simply—" A voice cut in. "So if she has permission, that will suffice, correct?" The clerk cried out in shock. Duke Wald raised the letter. "This is my recommendation." The clerk accepted the letter with trembling hands. "Why, yes, Your Grace. I will accept the application at once." The Queen entered the room. "You summoned me so urgently. What has happened?" Raymond pressed a hand against the table. "Mother, please stop Belinda's absurd behavior." The Queen's eyes stayed calm. "This is about the civil service exam, isn't it?" "I know." She held out a letter. "This is my recommendation." Raymond stared at her in disbelief. "What?" A minister lifted a hand. "Do you not think this is rather bold for a future queen?" The Queen's gaze was firm. "I believe her abilities far exceed what is merely required of a queen." Minister of Internal Affairs Heidenberland looked astonished. "Lady Belinda is truly remarkable. In that case, we have no choice but to allow her to sit for the exam. As Minister of Internal Affairs, I cannot ignore recommendations from both the Duke and Her Majesty the Queen." Raymond sneered. "The civil service exam isn't something you pass with petty cleverness. It selects only the best talent in the entire country. The moment she takes it, she'll fall flat on her face." He waved a hand. "If she wants to take it, let her." The minister rested his chin on one hand, deep in thought. "Very well. She may take the exam." The Ministry of Internal Affairs examination hall. Candidates wrote furiously. Belinda held her quill. Next came the essay question. She unfolded the paper. "Suppose the Western region suffers from a severe water shortage. Design and describe effective countermeasures." The Western region received little rainfall and suffered severe drought once every 10 years. Most nobles in the capital would never care about such a problem. The hall was utterly silent except for the scratching of pen tips across paper. The last water shortage had been 7 years ago. Everyone had probably forgotten, but in my previous life, a sudden drought struck. Back then, much more could have been done. If the examiners also care about regional issues, they will take this answer seriously. Footsteps drifted down the corridor. Then a voice rang out. "What in the world is going on here?" He froze slightly. Heidenberland pressed a hand to his forehead. Lady Belinda received a perfect score. She ranked first. Several of us graded it and checked it again and again. Her paper is flawless. She is the first person in decades to score full marks. He slammed his fist onto the table. "Then this year's exam must have been too easy," an examiner replied. "The difficulty was the same as in previous years. The average score was 60. Heidenberland roared. "Even if she passed the essay section, find some way to deduct points from her." The examiner lowered his head. Her essay was virtually perfect. The examiners all said the proposal was concrete and innovative. It could be implemented directly as policy. Heidenberland could hardly believe it. He slapped a palm down on the exam paper. How could some pampered, noble lady possibly? Absolutely not. Send for Prince Raymond at once. An official bowed and departed. The bureau chief Yuri leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed, listening silently. A voice came from outside the door. "Lady Belinda, you have a visitor." Belinda called back. "I'll be right there." As she walked toward the door, she thought the results should be out soon. "Is it about that?" Raymond and Margaret barged in, malicious smiles on their faces. What a pity, Belinda. Raymond threw a letter onto the floor. You failed. Such a shame. Margaret let out a light snort. You even troubled our busy father over this. But you're already used to humiliating yourself. I'm sure you'll recover soon enough. Raymond planted his hands on his hips. The Queen's palace is in an uproar because of you. You really know how to embarrass me. Belinda looked at him coolly. You came all the way to the ducal residence just to say that? Raymond blinked. Yes. Belinda placed a hand over her chest and smiled faintly. My apologies for troubling your Highness the Crown Prince to act as a messenger. Thank you for coming all this way. The Queen stood by the window. What I feared most has happened. I grew suspicious and wanted to inspect the papers, but the Ministry of Internal Affairs insisted that only the king could see them. If they're being that stubborn, something is certainly wrong. Belinda said, by my own estimate, I scored full marks. The people who tampered with the result must be in the Ministry of Internal Affairs. The Queen turned to face Belinda. But we have no evidence. The Ministry of Internal Affairs has always been troublesome. Even I cannot control them. Take the exam again next year. In the meantime, gather evidence of their corruption. Cold sweat slid down Belinda's face. I don't have that much time. If the plan is delayed another year, Margaret and Raymond will. But what can I do now? A knock sounded at the door. The Queen answered, come in. Prince Yuri entered. Belinda looked puzzled. What is he doing here? He bowed. Your Majesty. The Queen stopped him. Stay. What I am about to say concerns you. His eyes sharpened. The Minister of Internal Affairs committed fraud in the civil service examination. I noticed irregularities in Lady Belinda's score. As a member of the royal family, I cannot simply ignore it. Belinda was stunned. Is he angry on my behalf? The Queen said, we were just discussing that. But they refused to hand over the paper, which is the very evidence we need. What do you wish to do? Yuri looked at Belinda. Belinda lifted her head in confusion. Yuri said, this concerns you. If you have no fighting spirit, there is nothing we can do. If you are willing to lose to them, then I will not interfere. Belinda suddenly clenched her fists, her eyes turning sharp at once. Of course I want to fight, and I will win. I will not be defeated by something like this. A slight smile tugged at Yuri's lips. They have surely destroyed the evidence of their fraud. Then I will make the request under another pretext. My weapon is the knowledge from my previous life. If I want to bring down the Minister of Internal Affairs, I have to use it. Belinda pressed a hand to her chest, determination in her eyes. Her desire to become a bureaucrat only grew stronger. I will never tolerate their filthy methods again. Yuri turned toward the door. The Queen watched his back. You came here in person just to inform us of the fraud. Have you taken an interest in her? Yuri lowered his gaze. I have been somewhat interested for a while. I was born of the king's mistress. My mother died when I was 7. After that, I was sent to the Marquisate on the western border, as though I had been exiled. I had nearly given up on life. But the Marquis was kind. I did everything I could there and eventually requested permission to return to the palace. He looked up. Several nobles were talking nearby. It was my brother. I thought I should greet him first. Then he heard voices. Mother must be insane. How could she bring back that wild boy who grew up in the countryside? Raymond whispered with the nobles at his side. I can hardly believe a person like that is your brother. Watching him make a fool of himself in high society here in the capital ought to be entertaining. Yuri turned away. My brother was arrogant and self-important, utterly unfit to be king. But he was the heir, and all I could do was remain silent, because resistance seemed pointless. That was until I met her. Belinda's figure rose in Yuri's mind. Though she was my brother's fiancée, she possessed the strength to refuse to bow to him. She had a sense of fairness rare among high nobles and cool judgment as well. Most important of all were those eyes. Standing before her, I felt ashamed of myself for ignoring my brother's wrongdoing. As long as there was something I could do, I felt I had to act. Watching her, I felt like a fool for being content with merely being the second prince. I realized I had been running away all this time. He turned. I have other matters to attend to, so I will take my leave. The Queen folded her hands and smiled gently. Belinda sat deep in thought in the study. The Minister of Internal Affairs owns land in the western region. That's right. The exam also mentioned that drought-stricken area. She opened her diary. If I remember correctly, this diary contains everything I knew in my previous life. According to these records, the western region will suffer a severe drought next year. Because the response was delayed, the casualties were devastating. But the truth was that funds meant to prevent the drought had been embezzled, leaving response measures gravely insufficient. At the time, only one low-ranking official was arrested. Belinda picked up her quill and began to write. Lady Karen, I would like to ask your brother for a favor. After finishing the letter, she sealed it with red wax. Karen handed over a folder. My brother asked me to give this to you. Belinda accepted it. The note inside read, I obtained what you wanted at once. The official in charge of this year's examination was surprisingly easy to deal with. Belinda held the folder in her arms. He's rather different from the impression I had of him. He seems easy to get along with. Karen asked, what are you planning to do with the old account books from the Western region? A cold glint flashed in Belinda's eyes. The Minister of Internal Affairs seems to have made a small mistake. I'm simply going to ask him to correct it. In his office, the Minister of Internal Affairs turned pale. How'd she get her hands on that? The letter read, I learned that I failed the civil service exam, but when I scored my own paper, I found not a single mistake. I request a re-evaluation of my exam paper. In addition, I have heard there may be some problems with the accounts in the Western region, and I have enclosed some of the evidence. The minister crumpled the paper in his hand. I went to enormous lengths to hide that. Only a handful of officials know about the secret ledger. Who betrayed me? Before that, I'll have to find a way to make that woman keep quiet. A voice came from outside the door. Excuse me. Yuri stepped inside. The minister panicked. Prince Yuri, what brings your highness here? Yuri's eyes were cold. Regarding the recent civil service examination results, I heard rumors of fraud and came to verify whether they are true. You may not have the papers, but you at least have the successful candidate's score sheets, do you not? The minister's face filled with alarm. If he discovers the scores were altered, I'm finished. He immediately put on a flattering smile. There was, in fact, a slight error during grading. We were planning to review all the papers and make the appointments again. Please rest assured. Yuri's tone remained calm. Good. But remember this. As a member of the royal family, I will not tolerate any fraud from this day forward. The minister trembled. Oh, of course, your highness. The minister ground his teeth. That little brat. She will pay for this. Belinda sat in her study, reading the newspaper. Error found in civil service exam scoring. First female bureaucrat appointed. The real challenge begins now. I will establish myself in the political world and put an end to Raymond and Margaret's schemes. I won't let them take anything from me ever again. I will change this country's history forever, for my own sake, and for those whose opportunities have been stolen. A newspaper lay open, the headline declaring the birth of the first female civil servant. A man in a suit stared at it and muttered in disbelief. A woman became a bureaucrat, and she's the future queen, Lady Belinda. One lady joined the conversation. I always thought she was such a gentle person. Another responded, a pampered young lady like her is bound to suffer terribly. Ellie walked through the sunlit estate. Let them talk. Her gaze was firm, and a confident smile rested on her lips. I am no longer the Belinda of the past. She pushed open the heavy double doors and entered the red-carpeted hall. I was assigned to the Steel Bureau of the Ministry of Commerce and Industry. The Steel Bureau manages iron mines and steel mills. It may seem unremarkable, but in truth, it's a good place. Far from the Ministry of Internal Affairs, and therefore conveniently removed from close ties to the royal family. She dropped a stack of documents heavily onto the desk. I can focus on work without interference. Most importantly, according to my memories from my previous life, the steel industry will develop rapidly over the next 2 years. Her palm slapped down onto a map. Thanks to the iron mine that will be discovered here next year. Margaret panted as she stared at a newspaper headline. Lady Belinda discovers new iron mine, improves steelmaking technology. Though doubts remain about female civil servants, her recent achievements have drawn attention. Her future looks promising. She stepped on the newspaper. Everywhere I go, people are talking about my sister. She became a bureaucrat, and now she's earned achievements too. Sister is receiving the praise that should have been mine. I'm going mad. I want more attention. I want more affection. The Duke's blood flows through me too. Before the Duke found me, my life was filled with a longing I could never shake. She watched a happy family together. Why was she the one who was loved? I am obviously cute. The teddy bear in a little girl's hands fell to the ground. Don't look at me. Margaret picked up the teddy bear. Did you drop this? The little girl's father bent down. I'm sorry. My child has terrible manners. Margaret shook her head. It's all right. It's because your father is so wonderful that she can be so spoiled. I lived apart from my father, so I'm jealous. The little girl's father knelt on one knee, holding up the teddy bear. If you'd like, I can give it to you. The little girl rushed over. That's mine. Margaret froze. An eerie glimmer flashed in the bear's eyes. I've always taken what I wanted with my own hands. Her smile twisted. Sister always gets everything so easily. Does she still want more? She spread her arms. I will make you pay for being the center of attention. Belinda sat by the table and lifted her teacup. As expected, working non-stop is exhausting, but it feels wonderful to have my hard work recognized. She reached for a book on the table. Today is my first day off in a long while. I'm going to finish all the books I've been wanting to read. A maid entered the room. Lady Margaret invites you to a tea party. She asks that once you're ready, you come at once to the garden. Belinda sighed. I really wish she would stop causing trouble. She walked into the garden. The sunlight was perfect, and the guests stood in little groups across the lawn. A look of resignation crossed her face. Even on my day off, I still have to see these people. If I remember correctly, that lady is related to the foreign minister. And that one over there. I heard her brother works in the Ministry of Finance. There are even current civil servants here. Belinda swept her gaze across the crowd. So many guests connected to the political world. Was Margaret plotting? She stepped forward. My apologies. I'm late. Good day. A lady warmly approached her. Congratulations on becoming the first woman to pass the examination, Lady Belinda. It is an honor to meet you. Even on the verge of entering the inner palace, you have achieved something so extraordinary. Belinda quickly bowed her head. This is not my achievement alone. Another lady exclaimed, How humble you are. Belinda sighed inwardly. Being praised like this is so uncomfortable. I hardly experienced anything like this in my previous life. Raymond stood with his arms crossed, staring at Belinda's back. A mere woman meddling in men's affairs, and now she's getting carried away. He turned impatiently to Margaret. Didn't you say you were going to deal with her at this tea party? Margaret replied. Prince Raymond, please watch carefully. Leave it to me. She walked toward a group of chatting guests, a perfect smile on her face. Hello, everyone. What are you talking about? One official responded nervously. Lady Margaret, it's nothing important. Margaret lifted her fan to partly cover her face, her smile growing suggestive. Could it be that you're talking about my sister? The officials froze. Margaret covered the lower half of her face with her fan and swept a sharp gaze over them. To tell the truth, I'm worried too. She became a civil servant in such a way. After all, I happened to hear a very strange rumor. Night fell, and the palace blazed with light. The dining table was covered in delicacies. The king sat at the head, with the queen, Raymond, and Yuri seated to either side. The atmosphere was heavy. Yuri spoke first. It's been a few weeks since Lady Belinda became a civil servant, hasn't it? The queen replied, yes. She's doing very well in the Ministry of Commerce and Industry. She has already begun contributing to the country. Raymond snorted. If she'd been assigned to the Ministry of Internal Affairs, those misunderstandings would have vanished long ago. It's full of elites there, after all. But who knows how long she can last in commerce and industry. Yuri set down his utensil, his gaze sharpening. What do you mean by that? Raymond's lips curved into an unreadable smile. Nothing special. I simply mean it will be interesting to see how some little lady survives in a political world full of men. Two officials spoke in the corridor. Have you heard? That absurd rumor about the Duke's daughter. Another official joined in. In that case, perhaps even a virile man like me should try my luck. Belinda walked through the corridor as gazes and whispers swarmed around her. So another strange rumor is spreading again? Karen hurried over. There you are, Lady Belinda. I need to tell you something. Her expression was urgent. I heard it from my brother. A vicious rumor about you is spreading among the court nobles. Belinda remained calm. I thought as much. Karen lowered her voice and leaned closer. But you may not know the exact content. They're saying you traded your body for success in the exam and for your achievements in steel. Belinda's eyes turned icy. So that tea party was meant to identify who resented me and then spread this sort of rumor among them. That is exactly the kind of thing that woman would do. She soothed Karen. It's all right. I was prepared for harassment of this level. Karen grew even more agitated. No, it isn't all right. From now on, please be very careful about your safety. You're still young. You don't understand how frightening men can be. Her eyes were earnest. Promise me you will protect yourself. Belinda closed her eyes calmly. I understand, but in truth, I know Margaret's scheme cannot end with mere rumors. If that woman makes her move somewhere with witnesses present, then I can catch her in the act. Yuri stood behind her. Were you going so late? Belinda looked up at him. Prince Yuri. His gaze shifted slightly. I just finished my work and was about to head home. Yuri's eyes narrowed as his gaze passed over Belinda's shoulder. A shadow slipped away in haste around the corner. Belinda stared into the distance, puzzled. What is he looking at? Yuri folded his arms. You're only going home now? Is a Ministry of Commerce and Industry so short of capable people that it makes a woman work this late? Belinda answered calmly. I was only fulfilling my duties as a civil servant. It has nothing to do with gender. Setting that aside, please do not speak ill of the people in my ministry. They're all extremely capable. Her gaze became firm. I have not been in the Ministry of Commerce and Industry long, but working with them has changed how I view civil servants. Yuri looked steadily at Belinda. The corner of his mouth lifted. Have you actually told them that yourself? Belinda clasped her hands in front of her. No, but it is the truth. Yuri rested his chin on one hand. Where's your carriage? Belinda replied. Near the west gate. 2 white horses stood before the closed iron gate. Yuri said, I'll take you there. This place is more dangerous than you think. He held out his hand, and you're slower to notice things than I thought. Belinda took Yuri's arm as they walked. Something about this is strange. Why is he here? The Ministry of Commerce and Industry is next to the War Ministry. Perhaps, as its head, he had some military business to attend to. Never mind. I need to think about how Prince Yuri's appearance will affect my future plans for independence. She looked up. Prince Yuri, I heard you were raised on the western frontier. Yuri answered yes. Belinda continued, I've never been there. What kind of place is it? Yuri's voice was calm. It isn't exactly prosperous. Part of it is desert. Life there depends heavily on limited water resources, and the amount of water fluctuates with the weather. Its only specialty is salt from the lakes, but it is a very beautiful place. Belinda looked at him. You must love your homeland very much. Yuri turned and smiled. Yes, that's right. Belinda thought to herself, so you can make an expression that charming too. But what I truly want to know is what you intend to do next. In my previous life, Prince Yuri returned to the frontier 6 months before my execution. That may have been one reason Raymond acted with such unrestrained boldness. She lifted her eyes to Yuri. Do you hope to return to the frontier one day? Yuri considered it. I used to think so, but recently, I've changed my mind a little. Belinda asked, do you plan to stay in the capital a while longer? Yuri stopped walking. Yes, someone made me realize that there are things I must do, things that can only be done as a member of the royal family. Belinda thought he would actually say something like that. Prince Yuri remaining in the capital. What effect will that have on me? It's still hard to say. Yuri turned his face slightly. More than my own future. I'm concerned about yours. Belinda replied, then please stay in the capital and watch me closely. The carriage stopped before the west gate. Belinda turned and bowed. Thank you for escorting me back. My carriage has arrived. I will take my leave now. Yuri's expression turned serious, his eyes sharp. An unfamiliar man turned and left. Looks like the rumors are true. Leaning against the wall, he muttered, so she was flirting with the second prince. In the end, I never got her alone. That woman dared to tempt me. Inside a grand estate, someone whispered, does Lady Belinda really like that sort of thing? I certainly heard it. Belinda walked through the crowd. It seems my ridiculous rumors have been updated again. Is this part of Margaret's plan too? She sat at her desk. As long as I'm not caught red-handed, I don't care. 2 officials stood before her in a panic, talking over each other. This is bad. A document is missing from the Southern trade budget. It has to be submitted this afternoon. We don't have time at all. Belinda handed over a thick stack of papers. Then please use this. The officials stared at her in confusion. Belinda explained, I'm not very familiar with affairs in the South, so I prepared a complete set of documents myself. All the data is current, so there shouldn't be any problem. The officials nodded repeatedly. Belinda handed over another document. I've also summarized demand for steel products and included price fluctuations, along with data from other countries, just in case. If there is any other work, please let me know at any time. One official wondered aloud, you've already finished all that? Then what about the personnel expense documents for the iron mine due by the end of the month? Belinda set down another thick file. Right here, she wiped her forehead. The steel production plan you proposed seems likely to cause operational problems. So I attached a proposal designed to maximize efficiency, including the overall workflow. If you'd like, please take a look. The 3 officials stared, dumbfounded, at the mountain of documents. Then they burst into applause. A green-haired man stormed in. Belinda glanced at him. One of Raymond's men. He's here with bad intentions. The green-haired man barked. Belinda walled. Come with me to Prince Raymond's room immediately. Belinda closed her eyes. I'm afraid I cannot. I am currently on duty. Please tell him I will visit after work. A cold smile appeared on the green-haired man's face. I had hoped to spare you, but if you insist, we'll settle it right here. His voice dripped with malice. For a young lady, this is hardly a flattering subject. Belinda addressed the others in the office. Please go ahead and say it here. It's no more than a rumor about me using my body to get my position. I have nothing to hide. The green-haired man straightened. Very well, as you wish. You committed adultery with Prince Yuri. Belinda's pupils shrank. What? The green-haired man continued his accusations. We have a witness. Last night, someone saw the 2 of you walking arm in arm in the outer court. His Highness is extremely enraged by this. Belinda thought it over. He sounds very confident, so they really do have a witness. I need to avoid dragging Prince Yuri into a scandal. she rebutted calmly. His Highness merely escorted me to my carriage. He only offered his arm as a matter of courtesy. The green-haired man sneered. Is that so? Then what proof do you have? A voice spoke up. I can testify to that. A young official wearing glasses stepped forward, nervously wringing his hands. Yesterday, I happened to see Lady Belinda at the palace. I also saw the moment Prince Yuri escorted her, but there was nothing improper in their interaction. Belinda looked at him. The bespectacled official gathered his courage. I am willing to testify to that. One official spread his hands. Lady Belinda is on duty. Another chimed in. That's right. Without her, we couldn't finish our work at all. The green-haired man bristled with anger. You're nothing but a rabble here. Belinda recalled Yuri's words from the previous night. Have you ever told them that to their faces? Belinda answered, no, but it is the truth. Belinda clenched her fist. It feels wonderful to be recognized, doesn't it? Then she placed a hand over her chest and said firmly, please do not insult my excellent and kind colleagues. You serve the crown prince, so surely you know this. The diplomatic ties our ministry works so hard to build, and the plans for domestic industry sustain the entire nation. The green-haired man shouted angrily. What does that have to do with this? First of all, your alleged relationship with Prince Yuri. This very morning His Highness gave a warning. One official adjusted his glasses. He said that now that there's a female official among us, we should be mindful of our working hours. He sighed. Even while we're standing here talking, valuable work time is being wasted. He lifted a document. Security at the official residences will also be strengthened accordingly. If someone were trying to hide something, would they make such a proposal? Belinda turned away. Please tell His Highness that I will visit him after work. The green-haired man clicked his tongue. How bold. Fine then, even if you're late. He stormed off, slamming the door behind him. Belinda's eyes softened with a smile. I never imagined I would be protected like this. It makes me so happy. Everyone, thank you very much. Her colleagues wore warm smiles. We should be the ones saying that. One official stepped forward. Actually, the first person who defended you heard what you said last night. You told Prince Yuri that we were all very capable. I am proud of my work, of course, but the Ministry of Commerce is where people from other departments get pushed aside once they've offended someone important. I never expected the Crown Prince's fiancé to praise us like that. Belinda suddenly understood. So that's it. A group of people who have all been pushed aside. Raymond must have been behind it. Using his ties to the Minister of Internal Affairs, he exiled everyone he disliked to this place. She turned to one of the officials. Is there any way I can help? The official looked puzzled. What do you mean? You can tell from that accusation just now that the Crown Prince dislikes you. Belinda nodded. Yes, that's why I was sent here. She extended her hand, her eyes shining. Then, as fellow outcasts, would you be willing to work with me? I will make them acknowledge your abilities while also proving my own innocence. Let's turn this plan into reality. In an opulent room, Raymond sat on a sofa. What is Belinda doing? Margaret gently soothed him. Please calm down, Your Highness. He gritted his teeth. I'm finished. Completely finished. At the tea party, I spread the rumor that my sister was a wicked woman who rose to power by seducing men. Not only did I ruin that useless plan, I've also left behind a huge risk. I forged a letter in Belinda's name and sent it to the most womanizing official under Raymond. The letter said, I feel uneasy. I was hoping someone might be kind to me. I have long thought how exceptional you are. One day, I may be late leaving the Ministry of Commerce. Shall we meet afterward? My plan was to have sister encounter a lecherous man, disgrace herself, and then disappear from public view. But instead, someone who resented me one-sidedly spread vicious rumors about my sister and Prince Yuri. Margaret leaned toward Raymond beside her. My relationship with Prince Raymond still isn't certain. She closed her eyes, a calculating smile curling at her lips. In this plan, all he knows is that he spread slander about sister. If it gets out that I incited his subordinate to harm his fiancée, then I'll be in trouble. The doors opened slowly. Belinda walked in. Raymond exploded in anger. You're late. What exactly are you doing? Belinda answered calmly. My apologies. I had work to do. Raymond roared. It's disgusting, sneaking around with another man. And with my brother, no less. Margaret suddenly covered her mouth. Her body trembled faintly. Raymond immediately turned to her. Margaret? What's wrong? Margaret wiped away tears. You must treasure my sister greatly to be this angry. I'm sorry. I felt a little jealous. Am I foolish? Margaret gave a shy smile. I'm sorry. I was being selfish. Raymond froze. Jealous? So that means... Margaret turned to Belinda. Sister, you're always so cold toward men. I thought you disliked them. Raymond spread his arms. Even your lover Yuri wouldn't touch you. This rumor is absurd. Belinda remained expressionless. Are you finished? Raymond dropped the smile. You may go back to work. A look of annoyance crossed Belinda's face. I'll take my leave then. Raymond drew Margaret into his arms. Let me see your face. Margaret said softly, Prince Raymond, thank you. I'm all right now. Raymond replied gently, that's right. Take your time. Margaret let out a cold laugh. You really are easy to deceive, because I will always be your first choice. As the Duke's daughter and the future queen, I should stand above everyone. I will eliminate anyone who stands in my way. Belinda stood alone in the corridor. She pretended to be jealous. Was it because of him? That girl won't protect me. It seems this matter may be the key to pushing you into a corner. A purple-haired official sat at his desk, surrounded by piles of documents. Belinda looked at him. I know you're still here. Let's put the plan into action immediately. The purple-haired official looked up. But I still have some work to finish today. Belinda said, I'll help you. If we work together, we can leave within an hour. The purple-haired official held up a stack of papers and thought for a moment. That much. All right, if it's with you, I think we can do it. So what exactly do you have in mind? Belinda gave a confident smile. We're going to meet the best information gatherers in the castle. That's why I need you to come with me. The door of a country manor was knocked on. The maids at supper turned at the sound. One head maid stood and demanded, What is it? We're eating. Then she recognized the visitors and looked puzzled. Aren't you Philip? Belinda and Philip stood at the entrance. The head maid rose to her feet. Long time no see. What brings you here? Are the officials bullying you again? Philip smiled and denied it. No, today I've come because I have work to entrust to all of you. The head maid grew wary. What kind of troublesome work is it? Belinda raised a hand and smiled confidently. Nothing troublesome, of course. This will benefit all of you. The head maid put her hands on her hips, her gaze sharp. Aren't you the crown prince's fiancé? What does a duke's daughter want with us? Belinda thought, as expected of top-class informants. She recognized me instantly. She placed a hand over her chest. You all must know this palace better than anyone. This is something only you maids can do. Margaret spread slander about me, but she didn't expect Prince Yuri to appear. Her plan was disrupted. That means a third party must have intervened. In order to expose the connection between Margaret and that person, I need to find out who the officials have been leaking information to. That is why I must work together with the maids. The head maid still looked suspicious. So what do you want us to do? Belinda extended her hand. I need you to collect discarded documents from each department, especially letters. I want to trace the source of a rumor. The head maid asked bluntly, You mean the rumor saying your conduct is indecent? Belinda thought, indecent conduct? No one said that about me in either life. Her eyes narrowed. That's right. You're very sharp. The head maid folded her hands before her. We've moved the document disposal area near the Ministry of Commerce. The officials probably won't notice, but you'll have to compensate us. Belinda smiled faintly. For years, you've been fighting for better treatment, yet your requests have never been accepted. She spread her arms. If you help me, I will raise your wages, improve your working environment, and the quality of your meals. I will negotiate with the Queen on your behalf. The head maid touched her chin, lips parting slightly. Negotiate with the Queen? Her lips curved upward. Interesting. Deal. She held out her hand. My name is Helena. It's a pleasure to work with you. Belinda and Philip walked down the corridor. Philip adjusted his glasses. Who would have thought your strategy would be to gather intelligence through the maids? And you even won over Helena from the south so quickly. Belinda said, I've always paid close attention to the palace maids. If it were only me, this plan would be no more than words on paper. It only became possible because of your connections. Philip replied, I only got to know them because I work late so often in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Belinda's eyes were sharp. Other officials look down on maids and don't even deign to speak with them. Nobles always look down on commoners. In her memory, Margaret had arrogantly declared, commoners shouldn't be supported. They're the ones who ought to support us. Commoners are born to serve me. Belinda's gaze hardened. I should have realized long ago that something was wrong with her. Yuri gave orders to the knights. From tonight onward, strengthen security. Belinda fell into thought. I only mentioned it to him last night, and he really tightened security. He managed it in a single day. So many people are supporting me now. I have to clean up the chaos in this country. I cannot let their efforts be in vain. Helena hurried over. Because those malicious rumors about you reach my ears, I found the source of them. She handed over several letters. I carefully checked the discarded documents from the Ministry of Internal Affairs, and sure enough, I found this there. You're going to be shocked. Belinda took the letters and studied them. This seems to be a letter addressed to someone in the Ministry of Internal Affairs. She turned over the envelope. The sender was me. Her pupils constricted. Belinda asked her colleague, You used to work in the Ministry of Internal Affairs, didn't you? Do you recognize this name? He glanced at the letter. Maximus Spencer. His name is also on the list I gave you of officials connected to the Crown Prince. Helena spoke up. Don't just be shocked. Look at the contents. Belinda read, I feel uneasy. I was hoping someone might be a friend to me. I have long thought how exceptional you are. I may be late. Shall we meet after I leave the Ministry of Commerce? Belinda's eyes narrowed sharply. Margaret, I knew you were despicable, but I never thought you'd write letters in my name and incite men to harm me. She clenched her fist. Where is he now? Helena answered. He resigned 3 days ago, the day after you came to see us. Belinda thought, was I too late? Margaret, you're impressive. This proves just how much effort you put into framing me. She turned to Philip. Doesn't the Ministry of Foreign Affairs employ handwriting experts to examine forged documents from other countries? Philip sat at the desk. You certainly know a lot. Belinda held out the letter. Can they determine who actually wrote this? Philip accepted it. Leave it to me. I'll ask immediately. Helena was about to speak when Belinda stopped her. Helena, on another day, the Queen would like to speak with you directly. She wants to discuss expanding staff numbers and delegating authority over supplies and electricity management, so the working environment can be improved at once. Helena looked utterly stunned. You've already spoken to her? She still sounded doubtful. But that doesn't mean it will definitely work, does it? Belinda smiled. That is precisely our job as officials. The rich hoard abundance, while the poor are stripped even of the little they have. I want to change all of that. Helena folded her hands, gratitude on her face. I'll tell the others. Thank you. Then she suddenly remembered something. I nearly forgot. There was something else in the Ministry of Internal Affairs trash. I thought perhaps you could deal with it. The file bore a red cross and the words, Request for aid. Water shortage in Western region. Not urgent. Belinda stared at the document, her pupils shrinking. In my previous life, the abnormal water shortage didn't happen until next year. Did it begin this year? Or did the Ministry of Internal Affairs hide it? If it's the same as last time, hundreds of thousands of refugees will appear in the West within months. She rushed into the office. I have an urgent task for all of you. Please lend me your strength. Get this document to the newspapers. Your department has channels for that. The people of the West are facing an abnormal water shortage. They are crying for help from the capital. If the Ministry of Internal Affairs wants to bury it, then we will answer with an information war. Belinda held the newspaper, a cold smile on her lips. Margaret, in a way, I should thank you for your evil deeds. With this, I can bring down the Ministry of Internal Affairs that has been colluding with Raymond. Belinda's footsteps echoed through the empty corridor as she walked alone. I had wanted to seize evidence against Margaret, but there's no time now. In my previous life, the Western water shortage crisis wasn't supposed to happen until next year. The Minister of Internal Affairs and Prince Raymond misdirected the response, and large numbers of refugees flooded into the capital. Public order deteriorated as a result. Support for the West had already been slow to begin with. She unfolded the letter in her hand. On it was Anne's neat handwriting. Father is very enthusiastic about Lady Belinda's proposal. Construction will begin soon. We will certainly succeed. From your number one supporter, Anne. A faint smile rose to Belinda's lips. Number one supporter. That title always makes me feel a little awkward. She pushed open the great doors. All the measures that had been necessary in her previous life were clear in her mind. Now, all that remained was to save the people with her own hands. 3 officials looked at her. Lady Belinda, one of them said, things have been chaotic ever since the newspaper article was published. Belinda nodded. Yes, I saw. The officials have been running around trying to deal with the Western water shortage. One of them spoke up. They should be forced to take action immediately. Good, Belinda said. Are you satisfied? We successfully leaked the information to the press and put pressure on the Ministry of the Interior. But will they accept it so easily? We know them well, don't we? Just as I said last night, the Ministry of the Interior delayed responding to the water shortage because the Minister of the Interior embezzled the budget and lost the funds. They were probably planning to gather the money back while the press was under control. But I, who remember my previous life, won't let them get away with it. Philip crossed his arms. But you have a plan, don't you? A smile tugged at Belinda's lips. Yes, we'll do it in a way only our overlooked Ministry of Commerce and Industry can. Let's save the West before disaster strikes. She walked alone down the corridor. I've already contacted the necessary people. Now all that's left is to confirm my prediction and investigate. A furious shout from Raymond exploded through the corridor. Don't interfere. Belinda stopped abruptly, her eyes sharpening. A voice roared. Father entrusted the water shortage problem to me. Yuri answered coldly, then do your job properly. Why were you completely unprepared? If you summon the people of the West to the capital, they'll only become more exhausted and more hungry. Belinda listened outside the door. Just as I thought, Raymond acted exactly the same as he had in my previous life. He recklessly summoned the exhausted people of the West, which led to food shortages and disease outbreaks. Countless people died because of it. Raymond spread his hands. Don't worry. I'll distribute food to those who have lost everything. We can just buy water from neighboring countries. Yuri snapped in anger. They won't arrive for at least a week. Do you think it will be in time? And besides, after how rudely you've treated foreign diplomats, do you really think they'll help you so easily? Belinda fell into thought. Lord Yuri grew up on the western frontier. Of course he would be emotional. The pain of seeing someone precious get hurt. I understand it all too well. Raymond turned and glared at Yuri. You son of a mistress, how dare you speak so insolently to me? A prince? This is my duty as a prince. It's not your place to interfere. Yuri spun around sharply. He strode toward the door, then stiffened. Sorry. Belinda steadied herself. Lord Yuri, are you all right? Yuri turned his face aside, his voice low. At this rate, all the people in the West will die. He walked away quickly, his back resolute. Belinda watched him leave, a spark of determination in her eyes. Yes, we must save them. A week later, in the capital, refugees stood in long lines, orderly receiving hot soup and food. Raymond looked over the scene before him. Yuri said so much, but it seems I was right after all. The people murmured among themselves. That pure young lady is giving charity to the refugees. Doesn't it look like a religious painting? An official beside Raymond flattered him. As expected of Lord Raymond's policy, it seems to have touched the hearts of the poor already. Suddenly, an angry voice rang out. What's going on here? Why is the food being distributed unevenly? The woman handing out food explained in a panic. Don't ask me. We've already run out of today's portion. The refugees began to stir. What do you mean? It's only the first day. There are still so many people who just arrived, and now there's nothing left. Raymond's face darkened. He strode over to the argument and demanded of the female official. Did you miscalculate? Didn't you prepare enough? The woman stammered. Raymond roared. Stop making excuses. This is your mistake, isn't it? Take responsibility. Get food from somewhere else. The woman lowered her head, trembling slightly. Raymond clicked his tongue in disdain. Cry at the slightest word. Women are all the same. Belinda's cold voice cut in. Are you saying that because I'm a woman too? Raymond whipped around. Shock spread across his face. Belinda raised her voice. All right, everyone get ready. Two officials carried over steaming pots of food. Those who haven't received anything yet, please come this way. Belinda spread her arms. Even if you've already eaten, if you're still hungry, please line up again. There's plenty of food. You don't need to worry about a thing. Tears filled the refugees' eyes. Our savior. A pair of hands offered a brimming bowl of food to the hungry. A refugee girl beamed. Thank you so much. One of the officials blinked in surprise. Standing beside Belinda, he said, I remember now. The focus of our work is the people. Even nameless department could do a great deal. The Ministry of Commerce and Industry was responsible for commerce and trade. They understood the domestic production and circulation of food and had ties with the merchant guilds. They contacted merchants, gathered relief supplies from food-rich regions, and promised future business in return. They also recruited cooks from the guild. Raymond crossed his arms and glared at Belinda. What do you think you're doing? Belinda replied lightly, I'm only following your orders. I'm simply gathering food. Two young women looked at Belinda with admiration in their eyes. I've heard the rumors about Lady Belinda. It seems I misunderstood. Raymond gritted his teeth. Don't get carried away. He turned and stormed off. Footsteps approached, so he finally left. Belinda looked up. Lord Yuri, what exactly happened? Yuri pulled up his hood. Just call me Yuri. I only brought a wagon full of barrels. I thought it might help. Belinda could hardly believe it. How is that possible? How did you obtain this during a water shortage? Yuri explained, I merely informed the neighboring country that you were drafting measures against the shortage. They may despise Raymond, but they hold his fiancée in high regard. They appreciate that you study foreign cultures and languages and treat them as equals. This is all thanks to you. Belinda sank into thought. So there are people who saw me that way. Yuri bowed deeply. Thank you for saving the people of my beloved West. Belinda hurriedly shook her head. Please raise your head. Yuri straightened. I'm glad I was able to say goodbye properly. I'm going to the West now, because even a son born of a mistress, that still has things he can do. Belinda listened quietly, her gaze firm. Then she said, then leave the politics to me. I will protect your land. Yuri smiled. Yes, I'm entrusting everything to you. He turned and walked away, his black cloak blending into the street. Belinda watched him go. Her hands clasped together, her expression grave. Providing food to refugees is only a temporary measure. If no fundamental action is taken, the damage will only keep spreading. I need experts to investigate the cause of the water shortage. Her eyes hardened. After all this time, I'm finally going to meet that person. At last, I can turn that promise into reality. The grand palace was bathed in morning light. The queen sat on her throne. You want to discuss the water shortage with me? Belinda stood before her. Yes, your majesty. I ask that you grant me 3 requests. She placed a hand over her chest, solemn-faced. "If your majesty permits it, I will do everything in my power to resolve this disaster." The queen's expression turned serious. "If you continue to interfere, you may lose your post as an official." That position was hard won. Risking it so recklessly would not be wise. "The water shortage is not under your ministry's jurisdiction. Raymond is in charge. If I intervene fully, that it will be no different from slapping them in the face." Belinda answered decisively. "But if I abandon the disaster victims just to keep my position, then how would I be any different from them?" The queen said, "That is an extremely stubborn path. You may make enemies. You may even be accused of betrayal." Belinda smiled with confidence. "Please don't worry. I won't make the same mistake again." A flicker of doubt crossed the queen's eyes. "Again?" Then she gave a soft laugh, opening her fan. "Very well. In consideration of your resolve, I'll hear you out. But if you fail to convince me, your request will not be approved." Belinda pressed a hand to her chest, gaze steady. "I will persuade you, your majesty." The queen thought to herself, someone who can handle trouble and isn't afraid of making enemies. A disaster on this scale needs a hero like that. As long as she's here, something interesting is bound to happen. Belinda stood facing an official. "It's good to see you, Mr. Lester. Thank you for your help before." The Ministry of the Interior official was Lester Malcolm. He was the one who first raised the water shortage issue and the one who had delivered the Interior Minister's secret ledger through Karen's brother. Lester scratched his head. "Even I didn't expect your response to take effect so quickly." He lowered his eyes. "But the upper levels of the Ministry of the Interior covered it up, so your proposal couldn't be implemented in time." A proposal document was spread out. It concerned measures for the Western region's water shortage and suggested introducing technology from the Kingdom of Na. It recommended building wells and canals, and smiled faintly. "That issue of timing has already been solved by Lady Belinda." Belinda turned around, and, "Sorry for calling you here so late." Dressed in splendid clothes, Anita bowed gracefully. "It is my honor to be of service, Lady Belinda." She introduced herself. "I am, and of House Moran. It's a pleasure to meet you." Lester's eyes widened. House Moran, if their family has ties with the Kingdom of Na, then the disaster measures can be implemented immediately. Belinda said, "We've already handled that stage," and nodded. "I've already dispatched engineers from the Kingdom of Na. They should arrive within days. The canal project is about to begin. Everything has been arranged by the Moran family." Lester looked utterly confused. "But why go this far?" and tapped her cheek with one finger. "It's mutually beneficial for us as well. Through this, the Moran family can establish ties with the West and pave the way for expanding trade routes in the future. There's another advantage, too. It allows the Moran family to connect directly with the Frontier Marquis." Belinda added, "This project requires permission from the Ministry of the Interior and Raymond, and delaying plans is what they're best at. We can't count on financial support from the state, so my family will cover the cost as an investment in the future." Lester was visibly moved. He grabbed Belinda's hand. "Thank you, but that's far too much of a burden." Belinda said firmly, "That is why I will grant the patent rights for this technology too." The Moran family, and covered her mouth, her eyes sparkling with delight. Belinda continued, "This is the first request I made to Her Majesty the Queen. The patent fee will come from the budget of the Ministry of Commerce and Industry. The minister is a relative of the Queen, so I used a few connections. Today, Misson and I will head west with officials from the Ministry of Commerce and Industry to push disaster measures forward as quickly as possible." The carriage rolled along a dirt road. Seated inside, and said, "Lady Belinda, you always amaze me. I was certainly shocked when you suddenly invited me to the West, but your measures against the water shortage are brilliant. You're going west on your own? Didn't your superiors object?" Belinda sat with her eyes closed, calm and composed. "They did. That was my second request to Her Majesty the Queen. I asked her to inform the Minister of Commerce and Industry that the West needed Belinda dispatched there for iron or import-export business, and pressed both hands to her cheeks, full of admiration. Heavens, you actually got Her Majesty to move for you." Belinda laughed awkwardly. "That wasn't my intention," leaning closer, and said, "By the way, Mr. Lester is completely smitten with you. He said he regularly wants to go west and be your #1 supporter." Belinda looked out the carriage window toward the distant mountains. "But I don't think that arrogant man will stay quiet about this." Her gaze turned grim. "That's why I made my final request." Raymond slammed his cup down hard. "Damn Belinda." His eyes darkened. "Iron or import-export business? Don't joke with me. I need to find out what she's plotting in the West as soon as possible. She's probably just gone there to curry favor with Yuri." The red liquid in his glass swayed, reflecting his twisted face. Margaret sat quietly. "You've been talking about my sister this whole time." Raymond turned his head. "Margaret, what did you say?" As Margaret poured him wine, she said, "I said perhaps it's time to teach her a lesson." Raymond frowned. "What?" Margaret smiled. My sister's recent actions have gone too far, tarnishing the face of her fiancé, Lord Raymond. It may be improper for me, as her younger sister, to suggest this, but I've heard the West is a wild and lawless place. Even if something were to happen to my sister there, it would likely be impossible to trace. That way, Lord Raymond won't have to dirty his own hands, and my sister's behavior can be made to look like divine punishment. A wicked smile curled up at the corner of Raymond's mouth. He reached out his hand. If we hurry, we can catch up to them in the border region. The night was deep, and hoofbeats shattered the silence, and had fallen asleep with her head resting on Belinda's shoulder. Belinda remained alert. We'll reach the frontier soon. Interference from the capital should lessen there. I hope so, but I still can't relax. In any case, I don't plan on getting married. A few scars on my body aren't a big deal, but Anne is here. I have to protect her. I only hope that my final request to Her Majesty the Queen arrives in time. The carriage jolted violently. The white horses panicked. It's an ambush. Belinda quickly covered Anne's mouth and shielded her behind her. I'm sorry for dragging you into this. They're after me. Find a chance to escape. The carriage door was yanked open. 3 assassins in black burst in. Their leader seized Belinda by the hair. Blonde hair, blue eyes, and an arrogant face. It's you, isn't it? And screamed in terror. Lady Belinda, you must have been hired by someone. I'll pay you double. Please let her go. Belinda's eyes darkened. Anne, even if they take your money, more assassins will just come. In that case, I have no choice. Do what you want with me. But she has nothing to do with this. It will be enough if I get out of the carriage. And looked horrified. Lady Belinda, no. One assassin raised his dagger. That's a tempting offer, but we're in a hurry too. Don't take it personally, miss. Belinda closed her eyes. My final request to the Queen. That isn't going to make it in time? A flash of light tore through the night sky, and the assassin's dagger clattered to the ground. Yuri stood in the moonlight, his blade cold and gleaming. As promised, he had arrived, a perfect rescue. Still shaken, Belinda looked at him. Lord Yuri, relief flickered in her eyes. I knew you would come. North of the Marquis' territory were mountains, to the northeast a great city, and to the southwest a boundless desert. Belinda and Yuri sat on a sofa. Across from them sat a man with a pointed beard. Belinda said, thanks to Lord Yuri, I was able to enter the frontier territory without a scratch and meet the Marquis so quickly. He was Yuri's adoptive father, Marquis Baldwin Jacob Strays. Belinda looked at Yuri. I wonder why he's in such a bad mood. The Marquis smiled. I've heard a great deal about you from you. No, please say Prince Yuri. Yuri stiffened and interrupted. Belinda thought privately, why is he angry? The Marquis continued. Prince Yuri said Lady Belinda would never abandon the people of the West. And indeed, you have come to this frontier land. Belinda replied, you flatter me. The water shortage is not officially under my charge, but I will direct matters personally and ensure the canal works proceed as quickly as possible. The Marquis nodded. Then I will gather the Western lords and inform them that this matter is under your leadership. With you and Miss in here, the engineers from the Kingdom of Na will also feel much more at ease. Thank you again. Belinda smiled. Yes, I look forward to working with you. The Marquis turned to Prince Yuri. Please show Lady Belinda around the castle. Why not take her to those places full of memories? Outside the castle, before a sea of white roses, Yuri and Belinda walked side by side. Yuri broke the silence. About last night, why were you so reckless? I learned from the Queen's Chamberlain that there might be an attack on the road. Belinda turned to look at him. To tell the truth, I was surprised too. And thank you for protecting Miss Anne. Yuri's tone turned urgent. If you knew it was dangerous, you shouldn't have forced your way here. I hurriedly arranged guards, but it still almost ended badly. You're a young lady, after all. Belinda's pupils trembled slightly. A voice echoed in her mind. Just a young lady. That voice belonged to Raymond, full of contempt and scorn. Belinda closed her eyes. So that's what Lord Yuri meant. He was truly worried about me. She spoke softly. I will reflect on it. But there were advantages to it as well. Yuri replied, you mean the assassins we captured? Belinda nodded. If we interrogate them thoroughly, some interesting names will come up. For example, your brother. Yuri's pupils shrank. So, that's why you wanted them arrested at the frontier? In a place where Raymond has no influence. Belinda smiled faintly. We still haven't reported the arrests to the capital. He'll definitely come in person to confirm the result of his plan. When he does, we'll expose his incompetence completely before the Western nobility. Yuri asked in disbelief, don't tell me you read the situation that clearly and deliberately used yourself as bait? Belinda turned away. I know that man too well. Raymond, I saw every flaw you had in my previous life. In this life, I will use every one of them against you. Yuri watched her back. His fists clenched unconsciously. A convoy of carriages rolled across the barren frontier. The wheels rumbled on. Seated inside one carriage, Raymond held a bouquet of yellow roses. The weather's lovely, perfect for visiting this godforsaken place. A flattering official sat beside him. Indeed, not a cloud in the sky. Exactly why the drought happened. But it's also good weather for the future king to come out and enjoy himself. That said, is the situation really as we heard? Raymond chuckled. Of course it's true. Belinda's carriage overturned. These flowers are a gesture of sympathy. She's surely all alone in that frontier castle by now, trembling in fear. Poor little thing. The fawning man agreed. In the long run, this will be a lesson for Lady Belinda. Overstepping her bounds was bound to lead to this. A foolish king has no need for a cunning queen. Raymond entered the castle hall and called out loudly, "Where's my fiancée?" Raising the bouquet, he said, "I've come to visit her." Belinda walked out. "Not only did you come all the way to the Marquis's castle, you came to visit the sick? There are no patients here." Raymond's face changed instantly. "You're unharmed? What were those fools doing?" Belinda shot back, "Which fools? Who exactly are you talking about?" A cold gleam flashed through her eyes. "Go on, expose your stupidity." The lords of the West had already gathered in full. They had all heard about the attack on the road. The bouquet in Raymond's hand trembled slightly. "What is this meeting? Canal Construcción? Who gave you permission?" The fawning official beside him cut in excitedly. "Lady Belinda, thank you so much. We're saved, all thanks to your coming here in person." As expected of His Highness's fiancée, Raymond was startled inwardly. The sycophant whispered into his ear, "This is the West. Supporters of the second prince are everywhere. Instead of scolding Lady Belinda, you'd do better to claim her achievements as your own. That would serve you better." He took out a document. "When I first received the letter from the Minister of Commerce and Industry saying Lady Belinda was being sent here as your Highness's representative, I was truly surprised." He held the document up. "The letter says you completed the task safely. What an excellent future queen." Belinda thought, "I see. The Minister of Commerce and Industry is the Queen's elder sister, but politically neutral. To avoid being drawn into needless conflict, she didn't even hint at my faction." Yuri clicked his tongue softly. Standing beside him, Belinda thought, "Fine. I've obtained a legitimate reason to intervene in the water shortage." After that exchange, they have no choice but to approve the canal works. With their strength, perhaps we can save even more people. The flattering official forced a smile. "Then, please report the details of the canal construction." Belinda stared at the Minister of the Interior. "You seem to have forgotten. This is the West, the very place where you embezzled public funds. Perhaps here we can take a crucial step and shatter all of your schemes." She turned to Yuri. "Lord Yuri, would you accompany me on inspection?" Yuri and Belinda, cloaked, walked through the leveled streets. A boy with a wooden bucket balanced on his head ran past them. Yuri looked around. "Good. It seems no one is going hungry." A little girl tripped while running, and the cup in her hand rolled across the ground. The girl stared at the empty cup, tears welling in her eyes. Belinda picked it up and handed it back to her. Then she crouched down and poured water from her flask until the cup was full. The little girl's face lit up with joy as she held it. Belinda looked at her gently. "There will be plenty of water to drink very soon. Until then, please bear with it a little longer." Yuri stared at Belinda's profile. She was clearly being used. Yet she still thought only of the people. She had even risked herself to set the kingdom's politics right. A little boy ran over. "Miss, your clothes are wet." Belinda looked down. "Oh, I didn't notice." Yuri clenched his fist. A strong will, brilliant intellect, compassionate, and capable of self-sacrifice. I have never seen anyone more suited to become queen. And the crown prince at her side only exploits her achievements. He doesn't even see the people as people. Yuri wrestled inwardly. That man doesn't love her at all. Does he really deserve her? Belinda noticed something strange about him. "Lord Yuri, what's wrong?" Yuri had always avoided this question. His whole life had been lived in resignation, believing it was only natural for the eldest son to inherit the throne. But what if I were the one to inherit it? I don't just want to protect this frontier. I want to protect the country this woman loves. His gaze hardened. "And as for her, I will make her my queen." Belinda looked over the map. "There is a large water source near the neighboring border. Send technical personnel to assess the feasibility of drawing water from it." She issued orders to the officials gathered around. "Also, we're lacking fresh food supplies, but the officials from the Ministry of Commerce and Industry still in the capital are handling that." She raised a hand, firm and decisive. Her eyes were unwavering. The Marquis watched her quietly from the side, giving orders to nobles as though they were her subordinates. That leadership was impressive. Belinda turned to the Marquis. As head of the frontier, please go to the areas suffering the most and raise the people's morale. If the order comes from you, it will surely give them strength. The Marquis placed a hand over his chest and bowed deeply. As you command, my lady. Seeing this, the officials whispered among themselves. Even the frontier lord bowed to her. She's the true commander. One official raised his arm and shouted, "Everyone, follow Lady Belinda," and reported while holding a document. The water shortage has basically been resolved. The wells and canals are nearly complete. The water supply is stabilizing. At this rate, the refugees in the capital will soon be able to return home. Yuri sat at the head of the conference table. He gazed at Belinda across from him. This is all thanks to you. Belinda blinked slightly. Thanks to the Ministry of Commerce and Industries connections and Anne's Merchant Guild, food supplies are abundant now. It seems our mission in the western region is complete. One official beside Yuri exchanged a smile with his colleague. Belinda's tone shifted, but her expression grew grave. Yet all these accomplishments were reported to the king under Prince Raymond's name. This credit has been stolen in silence. I know what it feels like when effort goes unrecognized. How many officials have had their ambition crushed by that? No matter how hard I work as an official, before Prince Raymond, I am still insignificant. At least for now. Everyone's work, and even the people's suffering, deserves fair recognition. A bespectacled legal official spoke up. As long as the Crown Prince and the Interior Minister remain in power, we have almost no room to maneuver. Belinda held a file, her eyes sharp. Then we must confront the Minister of the Interior directly. Yuri said, "The Interior Minister is my brother's chief advisor. If we bring him down, the entire political balance will shift. The minister has been embezzling emergency relief funds this whole time. There must be powerful people in the West colluding with him. Let's begin by finding evidence." And thought aloud, who could it be? Belinda half closed one eye and tapped her cheek with a finger, a sly smile forming. I'm not particularly good at this sort of thing, but perhaps I could try a method Margaret once used. In the banquet hall, luxuriously dressed nobles chatted everywhere and exclaimed admiringly. Inviting the Western aristocracy under the pretext of a Reconstruction celebration was such a good idea, and we can collect donations at the same time. But where is Lady Belinda? Belinda slowly descended the staircase. She wore an exotic green gown adorned with gold ornaments and gemstones. She looked like a goddess descending to earth. The guests fell silent at once, their eyes fixed on her. Some even gasped. Belinda looked a little embarrassed. I shouldn't have let Anne's enthusiasm convince me. Dressing like this is too conspicuous. The guests murmured, "She's so beautiful." I thought she was a foreign princess. So that's Lady Belinda, the Crown Prince's fiancée. Belinda looked around. I can't stand this. I need somewhere to hide. She hurried away, caught Yuri by the sleeve, and said, "All these stairs are too much. Could you help me find somewhere to hide for a while?" Yuri looked at Belinda. "It can't be helped. You're too breathtaking." Belinda pointed to the embroidery on her shoulder. "Do you like this embroidery too? I heard it's a local specialty." Yuri gave a soft laugh. "Very well. To draw their attention elsewhere, shall we dance?" Normally, your first dance should be with your fiancé. But a flicker of hesitation passed through Belinda's eyes. Then she looked at Yuri. "Of course, I'd be delighted." The two of them entered the dance floor. Yuri wrapped an arm lightly around Belinda's waist. Their movements were elegant, their timing flawless. The guests looked over one after another. The Crown Prince is right there, and yet she's dancing with the second prince. But they look so well matched. Prince Yuri looks especially happy today. They're like a pair made in heaven. Standing by the stairs, Raymond watched them, drained his wine, and glared darkly. "Damn it, let's go." Belinda's gaze swept across the crowd. Just like Margaret once did, I need to find someone connected to the Interior Minister. A smile lingered at Yuri's lips. Belinda noticed him looking at her. "What is it?" Yuri said softly. "I just realized that even in a moment like this, you never forget your objective." He tightened his arm and pulled Belinda closer. "So, have you found the person we're looking for?" Belinda fixed her gaze on someone in the distance. "That man looks pale. It's Viscount Massick. His territory borders the Interior Ministers, but they've never had any public dealings. He's known for being responsible and devoted to his family. But that kind of person is the easiest to manipulate, just like I once was." Yuri held Belinda's hand tightly. "I didn't get the chance to say it before, but that dress truly suits you." Belinda's cheeks reddened. "Are you drunk?" "I dislike drunkards." Yuri laughed softly. In the distance, the flattering official held a wine glass and stared maliciously at the center of the dance floor. How dare they steal all the attention? Those achievements should belong to me and His Highness the Crown Prince. I have to drag them down hard. Plastering on a smile, he waved toward a group of foreign guests. Honored guests from the Kingdom of Qi, I hope you're enjoying yourselves. The nobles ignored him and whispered among themselves. The fawning official sensed the awkward atmosphere. Are they ignoring me? Is it because I didn't greet them earlier? He spread his hands, his smile unwavering. We are deeply grateful that you accepted our invitation. Thanks to everyone's cooperation, Prince Raymond's relief plan has progressed smoothly. He barked at and, "Don't just stand there. Hurry and translate for me," and glared in anger. "How dare you speak to a lady that way?" Belinda looked over at the sound. That man. Yuri gently placed a hand on her shoulder. "You don't have to carry everything alone. Leave this to me." Belinda tilted her head slightly. Yuri stepped forward, his back resolute, and glared at the fawning official. "That's exactly why I didn't want someone like you near the honored guest from the Kingdom of Qi." The official roared, "How dare you talk back to me? If this turns into a scandal, your father will bear the blame." Yuri walked over without the least hesitation. "I will not allow anyone to treat her rudely." And the official exclaimed at the same time, "Prince Yuri." Belinda placed a hand on his shoulder, puzzled. He doesn't seem like the type to make a scene in public. What's gotten into him? The flattering noble protested. "I was only..." Yuri cut him off mercilessly. "Miss," and spent her own money and used her own connections to bring in professional engineers. She and the guests from the Kingdom of Qi are the true pillars of this project. You have no right to boast here. The official's face turned ashen. What? Wasn't resolving the crisis the achievement of me and Prince Raymond? Yuri raised his voice to the surrounding guests. Everyone here knows those accomplishments were built on lies. And everyone knows who truly deserves the credit. Are none of you ashamed? Aren't you people in high positions for the sake of helping this kingdom? A young noble looked at Yuri's back in awe. Every time Prince Yuri speaks, the whole atmosphere changes. He feels like a true king, radiant and magnificent. The flattering official turned away and shouted, "That's enough. Let's go." Yuri turned back and looked at Belinda. "What's wrong?" Belinda shook her head. "Nothing." Her heart was in turmoil. In this country of primogeniture, Yuri was only the son of a concubine. Behind him stood only the marquis of the western frontier. But if Yuri had been the eldest legitimate son, born of the queen, he could have overthrown Raymond, backed by the nobles. Yuri sat upon the throne, Belinda standing beside him with documents in hand. Together they accepted the people's cheers. The people raised their hands, tears in their eyes, celebrating the coronation of a new king. Belinda lowered her gaze. "By my strength alone, I cannot protect the people. But if Prince Yuri were to lead this country, perhaps that is the true reason I entered politics in the first place." At that moment, an ambition unlike any she had ever known was born. "I will make this man the next king." Outside the grand estate, a servant handed over a letter. "Lady Belinda Wald, this has arrived for you." A bright red seal stamped the envelope. The words inside were stark and direct. "I know your secret. Meet me tomorrow morning in the castle garden in the border region." Viscount Massick broke out in a cold sweat. He pressed a hand to his forehead. "Impossible." Belinda stood alone. "You should be here soon." According to the investigation, Viscount Massick and the Interior Minister exchanged letters frequently over the past 3 years. The timing matches the embezzlement records perfectly. If I can obtain those letters or his testimony, I can prove the corruption. To do that, I need his cooperation. Viscount Massick stepped in. Belinda turned to face him. "I've been waiting for you." Her gaze was sharp. "I intend to expose the Interior Minister's embezzlement. Will you help me?" Yuri lifted his teacup and took a light sip. Belinda lowered her eyes. He refused. If he's the type with such a strong sense of responsibility, I thought he'd want to settle it quickly. She clasped her hands tightly. "In my previous life, I was one of the people they used to. They pinned the charge of embezzlement on me and dragged me down with them." Yuri set down his teacup, his expression gentle. "Don't worry too much. We still have a way to resolve this." Belinda asked, "Prince Yuri, what do you think of the Viscount's behavior up to now? He denies any corruption and refuses to cooperate. Even if he was only used at first, as long as he keeps turning a blind eye, he'll be punished together with the Interior Minister. He's a serious, conscientious man. It's hard to believe he'd deliberately engage in corruption." Yuri's gaze deepened. Perhaps the Interior Minister deceived him. Perhaps he's suffering under some kind of threat. There may be prominent Western families tied to the minister and the public funds. If they've been able to get away with it for this long, there must be a reason. Perhaps nobles are being forced into silence. If that's the case, then I should help him all the more. Because I, too, am a victim of being used by the Interior Minister. Belinda's eyes widened. He is even more sensitive to others' pain than I am, more understanding. Just like my mother. Yuri leaned forward. So the only way to win him over is... Belinda looked curious. What way? Yuri tried the answer out. Trust. Belinda swallowed. I want to trust him too. But the Viscount seems very wary of me. Could it be that my expression is too frightening? She lowered her eyes. I had hoped to gain his help before the drought was fully resolved. Now I may have to persuade him slowly. Yuri laid both hands over hers. Don't worry. You're kinder and more considerate than you realize. That sincerity will surely move the Viscount's heart as well. Belinda's gaze softened. You're right. Yuri gave a light cough. By the way, once this is over, you'll return to the capital. Belinda asked, you finally come home. Won't you stay a little longer? Yuri's eyes were firm. No, I'll go with you. I will be in the capital. Belinda thought it over. Yuri was gaining political influence in the western region. If he returned to the capital, he would have to face Raymond directly. The interior minister led the crown prince's faction, which was powerful. But as a future king, Yuri was clearly the superior choice. Once we return to the capital, I will help him ascend the throne. I'll help him control the interior minister and weaken Raymond's influence. Yuri rose from his seat. Forgive my boldness, but judging from everything you've done so far, are you planning to break off your engagement with my brother? Belinda did not hesitate. Yes. Yuri let out a breath of relief. Thank goodness. Belinda frowned in confusion. What do you mean? Suddenly, there was a knock at the door. Philip rushed in. This is bad. The interior minister is here. The hall was crowded with nobles. The interior minister stood with his arms crossed. He was requesting that the kingdom's engineers build wells and canals on his own lands. But a young noble nearby looked at him with disdain, as loud-mouthed as ever. Another noble agreed. After the way he treated Miss Anne at the ball, she has an awful impression of him. The interior minister roared, What are you standing there for? I order you to get to work. And step forward. Please allow me to speak. They're only collaborators on this project. No one has the right to order them around. If you want their help, you should at least ask properly. The interior minister looked disdainful. Are you people just in it for money too? Greedy country bumpkins from the east are all the same. The foreign engineers from the other kingdom flew into a rage. What did you just say? Belinda stiffened slightly. The worst part is that it seems someone here understands our language. The interior minister looked irritated. What are you complaining about? Listening to these barbarians talk gives me a headache. The engineers were furious. You've gone too far. One of them grabbed the interior minister by the collar. Yuri stepped in to stop him. Calm down. The engineer shouted. He's been insulting us this whole time. How am I supposed to calm down? Belinda stepped forward. Please hear us out first. If fighting breaks out here, the interior minister wins. He'll twist this into an international dispute and pressure your kingdom with it. The interior minister looked smug. Belinda turned to him. These engineers are top experts from their kingdom. Please apologize for your rudeness. The interior minister spread his hands. Why should I apologize? They struck first. Belinda demanded, Do you know why the engineering works on your land were delayed? Wasn't it because you took the initiative to reject their help in order to flatter Prince Raymond? Is that really the conduct of a respectable statesman? I could bow and beg the engineers for their aid, but if I betray their trust and fail to protect those who work for others, the consequences would be unthinkable. I will never allow that to happen. The interior minister clenched his teeth, his face dark with resentment. Belinda continued, If you truly care for the people, then apologize. Anyone who cannot do even that is unworthy of receiving the help of foreign experts. The interior minister clicked his tongue and turned to whisper to his attendants. I will report this to the crown prince. His men hurried out after him. An engineer grabbed Belinda's hand. Thank you so much. I never imagined you would stand up for us foreigners. Belinda replied, I only did what was my duty. She bowed deeply to the engineers. As the person in charge of this project, I also ask for your support for that territory. The people abandoned, they're innocent. The engineers hurriedly said, Please raise your head. We intended to help from the beginning. Though you are a noble, you came here in person and gave us engineers the respect we deserve. For the sake of the country you love, please allow us to do everything we can. Yuri and Belinda stood side by side, surrounded by the crowd's praise. Anne's eyes shone with admiration. Lady Belinda truly lives up to her name. Fair to everyone and clever too. No wonder she's the first female bureaucrat. One engineer looked at Anne. Whenever Lady Belinda is mentioned, you're always like this. Yuri suddenly noticed something. That man, Viscount Masick, was standing at the staircase, his figure dim in the shadows. Yuri turned his face and whispered into Belinda's ear, As for that embezzlement case, things are starting to get interesting. We should prepare too. We can't waste our trump card. at Viscount Massic's manor. Children burst out through the door and threw themselves into their father's arms with open arms. "Papa, welcome home." Viscount Massic opened his arms and tightly hugged the little girl rushing at him. "I'm home." A brown-haired woman stepped forward. "Dear, welcome back. You're early today." Viscount Massic said, "I didn't feel like working today." The woman asked with concern, "Are you all right?" He took his daughter's hand. "I'm just a little tired." His daughter handed him a drawing. "Papa, look." It showed a family under a rainbow. The brown-haired woman smiled and explained, "You've been coming home late so often recently, so the children drew this to cheer you up." Viscount Massic took the drawing, looking at his daughter's upturned face with a complicated expression. "You're helping the people in the West, right?" Her eyes sparkled. "That's a noble's duty." Her innocent words landed heavily. Viscount Massic closed his eyes, his smile touched with relief. "Ever since I got involved in this, I felt guilty toward the people and toward my family. Can I really go on living like this? Do I still have the right to call myself a father?" Her strength, her conviction. Was rejecting her proposal truly the right choice? Viscount Massic called out to his wife. "There's something I want to tell you." The brown-haired woman sensed something was wrong. "You look so serious." "What is it?" Viscount Massic took a deep breath. "Before I confess my mistakes to someone else, I want you to know first." In the study, Yuri and Belinda sat upright, while Viscount Massic sat across from them. "Thank you for agreeing to see me today. I did not come without reason. This concerns what Lady Belinda asked me about a few days ago. The Interior Minister has been embezzling funds from the Western region, and I have evidence." He began to explain. "A year ago, I received a letter from the Interior Minister. It said he needed building materials to prepare for a potential flood and required a budget, and that he wanted me to receive the invoices on his behalf and submit the application in my name. Being recognized by such an important figure from the capital pleased me at the time. I thought that if I handled it well now, it would surely be rewarded in the future. So I agreed to it. The minister gave me an advance payment. The budget was approved very quickly. He even thanked me and put me in charge of the next canal project, saying it would save him the trouble of explaining everything to a newcomer. At the time, I did not suspect anything and simply followed his plans. But when I handed the advance to the contractors, they refused to accept it. That was when I realized I had become a pawn in a fraudulent transaction." He gave a letter to Belinda. "This is the Interior Minister's letter." Belinda analyzed it. There is no direct order to embezzle written in it, but if we compare it with the secret ledger, it can serve as supporting evidence. Still, that alone is not enough to be decisive evidence. Belinda nodded. "Yes, that's true." Viscount Massic lowered his head. "I am sorry. I couldn't obtain direct proof of the embezzlement. Even the invoice copies are gone. They must have destroyed every trace." Yuri spread his hands. "That makes sense." Viscount Massic's eyes turned resolute. "But if this goes to trial, I am willing to testify." "Lady Belinda, please use me as you see fit." Belinda voiced her concern. "If it goes to trial, will you be able to keep your position? They will explain the minister's advance payment as compensation for your involvement. You do not need to appear in person." Viscount Massic looked at her intensely. "I know. But yesterday, when I saw you protect those technicians, I remembered what it means to be a noble. I want to do the right thing, too. I want to become a father my children can look up to. This is a father's final stand. I don't want to disappoint them." Belinda smiled confidently. "So what we need is the invoice, right? Perfect timing. The Crown Prince is inspecting the Western region right now. We can use that." Raymond slammed the table. "What does this letter mean?" "A statement from Viscount Massic. It says that I have sold the books and invoices related to my dealings with the minister." The Interior Minister protested. "Impossible. I still have the invoices. I even brought them with me just in case." His face turned deathly pale. "I left them in my private residence. Don't tell me he stole them while I was with Prince Raymond." Raymond's gaze turned icy. "I know nothing about this. The Crown Prince would never be involved in such a thing. Listen carefully. Handle this yourself, or you will bear the consequences." The Interior Minister trembled all over. "Yes, I understand." He walked out of the room. "Why did I support that foolish prince? Of course, it was to use him. I cannot afford to fail." He returned to his room, clutching the documents in his hand. "Found them." Yuri and Belinda appeared behind him. "So this is where you hid the evidence." The Interior Minister turned around in terror. Yuri coldly declared, "Hayden Borland, you are under arrest for embezzlement." The nobles in the hall watched everything unfold. The Interior Minister was escorted away by 2 knights. Belinda questioned him. "You have been diverting funds from the Western region all this time. haven't you? He crossed his arms over his chest. We have gathered more than just the invoices. We also have testimony from all the landowners present. The interior minister sneered. They're going to testify against me? They all took money, and now they pretend to be saints. Their names are in my ledger too. Belinda turned slightly. Yes, they all know that. When we told them Viscount Massick stance, everyone you deceived came forward. Not a single coin of your so-called advance payment was touched. The interior minister gave a faint, contemptuous smile. It seems you misunderstand. You put on the airs of a politician, but you lack the wisdom to match. Listen carefully, this is not a court. You have no right to judge me. I will report this outrageous farce to the Capitol. The two knights forced him out through the main doors, their footsteps echoing through the empty hall. Yuri watched the minister's back. He's gone, just as you expected. A slight smile touched Belinda's lips. I can't wait to see how this play unfolds in the Capitol. Belinda's gaze passed through the crowd, toward the sinner being led away in chains. A copy of the evidence had already been sent to the royal capital. Her eyes turned cold. A harsher reality is waiting for him there. What a foolish man. Raymond, turn around. We must hurry back to the capital. The Marquis stepped forward. The cross-regional water channel has already been completed. With a smile on his face, he said, the water shortage problem can now be completely resolved. My deepest gratitude goes to Prince Yuri, to the people of this kingdom, to Miss Anne, and most of all, to Miss Belinda. Belinda waved her hand. You flatter me. I only did my duty. Yuri's gaze was firm. You led us in saving this remote region. You expose corruption in the West. You change our lives and save countless people. Belinda clasped her hands before her chest. She closed her eyes. Mother, did you see that? At last, I can help the people with my own strength. Inside the Grand Palace, people were murmuring among themselves. One official lowered his voice. Did you hear about the corruption case in the West? Someone as powerful as the interior minister looks finished. They say Miss Belinda found irrefutable proof of his crimes. The interior minister hurried past, fists clenched. Could all of this be that fox's scheme? He pushed open the doors. It's not over yet, as long as I can keep deceiving His Majesty. The throne room was solemn. The Queen and Raymond stood on either side of the king. The interior minister raised his eyes in shock. Why is the Queen here too? He fell to his knees. Your Majesty, please do not believe those rumors. This is all a setup. The Queen held a rolled document in her hand, her expression icy. A setup? Then explain this. We received a letter from Miss Belinda. It contains reports of misconduct, an embezzlement ledger, and even testimony from merchants in the West. The interior minister's pupils contracted. What? Even a merchant's? Damn them. The moment something happened, they betrayed me. But His Highness the Crown Prince Shirley. Raymond closed his eyes, his tone heavy. A minister of the interior involved in such crimes. I only ever wished to help the people, yet I failed to see what he was doing behind my back. The interior minister's face twisted. What were you saying? You're casting me aside like a lizard abandoning its tail to survive. The king's voice was stern and cold. You are removed from your office as Minister of the Interior and placed under house arrest. Remain silent until the final judgment is delivered. Hatred flared in the interior minister's eyes. Am I going to lose everything? That woman. I swear I will kill her. People came and went along the street. The sun shone brightly. Inside, this city has become better, hasn't it? Belinda said, even if another drought comes, the people of the West will not need to worry anymore. I'm truly grateful to you. Miss Anne. Anne's eyes lit up. Hearing you say that makes me so happy. Though you hold such a noble status, you never seek praise. You always serve others humbly. Your dedication is admirable. Your words have deeply moved me. Belinda smiled faintly. You've thanked me many times already. The Marquis looked relieved. Prince Yuri has changed a great deal since meeting you. As his adoptive father, I am sincerely grateful. Suddenly, he began coughing violently, doubling over with his fist pressed to his mouth. Belinda immediately stepped forward to support him. Are you all right? Shall I help you inside? The Marquis waved his hand. It is only my old illness flaring up again. I fear I do not have many days left. He covered his mouth and coughed several more times. Please do not tell Prince Yuri. If he finds out, he will come rushing back at once. Belinda watched his pained expression. Could this be why Yuri became that way in my previous life? If he became king, he would not be able to remain by the side of the one he loved during those final moments. The Marquis stroked his chin. Do not worry. I raised him for this very day. Belinda's eyes sharpened. What do you mean? Could it be? The Marquis smiled. He has the qualities to become king. Please take good care of him. My only regret is that I do not know what his future will be. Belinda's gaze turned firm. Then I will prepare myself as well. I will make sure he becomes the next king. Yuri ran across the courtyard, calling out, Miss Belinda, If you come to the capital, you must tell me. Belinda said, I did not want to interrupt your training. The frontier marquis was with me. Yuri replied earnestly, do not hesitate. Protecting you is the most important thing to me, and covered her mouth with a soft laugh, while the adoptive father beside her smiled. The people stood before the city, waving farewell. Please come to the West again, and waved enthusiastically in response. Of course, I will definitely come see everyone again. The journey back to the capital was quiet and peaceful. Those days felt like the calmest time of my life. Picnicking on grassy fields, choosing fruit in the market, everything was wonderful. Cheers rang through the royal capital. Miss Belinda, welcome back. Thank you for saving the people of the West. Standing before the crowd, Belinda looked slightly dazed. I thought Raymond would claim all the praise for himself, as usual. Yuri walked to her side. Why aren't you responding to their cheers? In Belinda's mind flashed the people from her previous life. Their faces twisted as they hurled stones at her and shouted for her to be burned to death. But now the people were full of warmth, raising their arms and cheering for her. Belinda's eyes trembled. This time, I really did choose a different path. She opened her arms, embracing both the crowd's cheers and the voice in her own heart. Watching through the window bars, Raymond looked deeply displeased. He rushed before the queen. Mother, why are you giving all the credit to Belinda? What has she done to deserve such praise? She is so arrogant, she does not even acknowledge that she is my fiancée. The queen fell into thought. Raymond is utterly unfit to be king. I once hoped Belinda would become queen and assist him, but the day I allowed him to treat her like a servant, that hope was shattered. The queen's eyes turned resolute. It is time for me to make a decision. Raymond raised his wine glass. Margaret, you are late. Don't tell me you want to join the commotion too. Margaret hurried over, as if I would do such a thing. Why is sister receiving so much praise? What exactly did she do in the West? I heard the interior minister is going to be dismissed. How pitiful. Wasn't that corrupt minister your ally? Won't that damage your reputation? Raymond raised his glass high. Noble blood guarantees my future. High officials are nothing more than my vassals. No one can stop the path that is destined for me. But Belinda humiliated me. Those cheers should have been mine. Margaret turned away. You're right. Her red eyes burned with anger. I will never let this go, and enthusiastically open her arms. Lady Belinda, thank you for all your hard work in the Western region. I hope you won't mind my boldness, but I'm holding a small gathering at my home today to celebrate you. A lady nearby spoke up. Your success in the West has become the talk of the palace. It will greatly elevate your political standing, won't it? You have always been underestimated. And raised one finger, her expression earnest. I also heard that Prince Yuri's attitude has changed. Recently, he has started attending government meetings and promoting policies that benefit the people. I heard he has even begun making contact with the liberal faction. That's what I heard from my father. Belinda listened quietly. He is completely different from the Yuri in my memories of the previous life. It is as if he wants to walk the same road I do. Lady Z spoke up. Among the nobility, everyone is talking about whether to support Lord Raymond or Lord Yuri. But since you are the crown prince's fiancé, for us that makes things somewhat. Belinda's gaze turned firm. Exactly, which is why now may be the best time. She stood before the queen. I have been considering breaking off my engagement to Prince Raymond. She lowered her eyes. Breaking off your engagement to Raymond? Her Majesty the Queen may be furious. The queen smiled slightly, her gaze calm. So you have finally made up your mind. Belinda blinked in surprise. You already knew? The queen said, the engagement was arranged by your father. Strictly speaking, you did not even need to inform me. Belinda looked serious. Even so, I wanted to handle it properly. I believe your majesty also had a hand in arranging this marriage. The queen's hand rested lightly on the back of her chair. Choosing the prince's fiancé is the same as choosing the future queen. She looked out the window. In my eyes, you were the best choice. I came from a distant northern kingdom and was married into power in this land at the age of 16. It was a political marriage. I never hoped for his love. He seemed to despise my pride. After I gave birth to an heir, we no longer even shared the same bed. I became nothing more than a tool for childbirth. My days were empty, like those of a walking corpse. A hand rested on the queen's shoulder. You're not only the king's wife, you're also the mother of this country. Please hold your head high. In the black-haired maid's eyes shimmered a light. It was the first time she had been seen as a person. A trace of warmth appeared in the queen's eyes. The mother of the people. From that moment on, I began stepping into politics to prove that women are more than tools for bearing children. I even taught my maids how to handle state affairs. The crowd raised their hands, cheering with delight. But in the end, all the credit went to my husband. What exactly was I fighting for? The queen's eyes turned hollow. The next queen should be a quiet girl with no ambition. She would not be lonely as I was. In her memory appeared a girl with blonde hair and violet eyes. I am Belinda of House Waldron. This girl is the one truly worthy of the queen's position. I was certain you would become an excellent mother to the people, but I no longer think that. She turned her head and looked at Belinda gently. I could only struggle within the system, but you're trying to change the system itself. That is something I could never do. You have already surpassed me by far. Belinda bowed. I am unworthy of such praise. The queen gripped her shoulders. You came all this way to see me, so there must be something important you wish to say. Belinda fell into thought. She truly sees through everything. If I become Minister of the Interior, I will become Prince Raymond's opponent. Even if the engagement is dissolved, I still hope for your Majesty's support. Let us build a nation that truly respects labor. The queen looked at her. Of course, I will be glad to support you. Left alone, the king murmured to himself. Life is truly full of surprises. Staring at the portrait on the wall, he said, Serene, may I place my hopes in your son? A knock sounded at the door. A servant's voice rang out. Your Majesty, the second prince has arrived. The queen's lips curved upward. Speak of the devil. Let him in. Yuri walked into the room and bowed with one hand over his chest. Forgive my intrusion. The queen said, You two really are alike. Belinda was just here as well. Yuri asked, She came to talk about breaking off the engagement, didn't she? The queen nodded. That's right. She said she intends to confront Raymond directly. Yuri declared, I came for the same reason. I intend to claim the throne. The queen spread her hands. I thought you would return to your adoptive father's western territory. Yuri lowered his eyes. I will, but first, there is something I want to accomplish. The queen grew thoughtful. So, this child too has been moved by Belinda's ambition. She spoke. It seems sending you to the west was the right choice. But now is not yet the time to reveal everything. Her gaze was firm. Do what you believe is right. I will support the side of justice. Before I am Raymond's mother, I am first a citizen of this kingdom. Yuri placed a hand over his chest. He bowed deeply. The queen pressed a hand to her forehead. Even so, Belinda is not easy to deal with. That stubborn duke will likely refuse to dissolve the engagement. A trace of determination flashed across Yuri's cold face. The servants lined up in front of the mansion. Welcome home, Miss Belinda. Belinda stood before them. Ever since returning from the West, they had been acting like this. She still was not used to it. She addressed the head butler. I'm back. The head butler bowed with the utmost respect. At your service, miss. Please give your orders. Belinda instructed. Tell father I wish to see him now. The head butler beamed. Understood. I will inform the Duke immediately. A maid entered. Miss, would you like to change first? Another added, I will prepare tea. A third maid bowed. Allow me to assist you with your bath today. The finest essential oils are already prepared. Belinda smiled helplessly. In my previous life, they all kept their distance from me. Margaret looked down from upstairs. Her eyes were dark. Belinda was surrounded by servants, looking perfectly composed. She must be very displeased that I have become the center of attention. But I will not stop here. Once I deal with Raymond, it will be your turn, Margaret. Her mother came closer and handed her a letter. Margaret, what timing? This is a summons from Prince Raymond. It seems you're doing well. Margaret waved the letter away. I don't need it. Her mother let out a shrill cry as the envelope floated to the ground. What is wrong with you? Are you really going to ignore the crown prince? Margaret's eyes were cold and unwavering. A man like that is not worthy of me. He has already lost the support of the interior minister, and he cannot compete with the second prince, whose influence is growing. Clenching her fists, she said, rather than choosing a man who only drinks and complains, I would rather. Her mother looked concerned. What is wrong with you? Margaret clasped her hands before her chest, smiling brightly. I'm fine, mother. I will live a happy life. Belinda stood before the desk, expression firm. As I said before, I want to break off my engagement to Prince Raymond. Her father leaned forward. You want to dissolve the engagement now? Belinda said, think carefully. Is maintaining my engagement to Raymond really beneficial to our family? Prince Yuri's achievements are enough to challenge the tradition of the eldest son inheriting everything. High society has already begun distancing itself from Prince Raymond. Her father lowered his gaze, deep in thought. That's true. I have also heard the bad rumors about Prince Raymond, and your performance in politics has exceeded my expectations. Belinda spoke calmly. Exactly. When you wrote my letter of recommendation, you promised that I would bring benefits to the family. Thanks to what happened in the Western region, I may receive a promotion. If that happens, we will gain even more. Her father suddenly slammed the table and roared, But you are a woman. There is no son in this family. Do not misunderstand your place. Do you really think you can bring more benefit than marrying into the royal family? Belinda did not back down. What is the point of being engaged to a powerless crown prince? Now is the best possible moment. A knock sounded at the door, interrupting them. A voice came from outside. "Forgive the interruption. Prince Yuri has come to see Miss Belinda." The three of them sat in the room. The Duke smiled. "I heard you wanted to see Belinda. You do not mind that I came along, do you?" Yuri replied, "Of course not. I wish to meet you as well. I was curious about the sort of environment in which Belinda grew up." The Duke became suspicious. That tone. Could he be interested in his brother's fiancée? I need to find out his real motive. The Duke said with a smile, "Your achievements in the Western region are truly remarkable. I hope my daughter was of some help to your highness." Yuri answered modestly, "It was all Miss Belinda's doing. I merely benefited from her efforts." Belinda looked a bit flustered. "What are you saying?" The Duke said, "Your reputation has risen greatly. With the support of the Western nobles, your political power will only continue to grow." Yuri instantly understood. "I see. He is asking whether I intend to enter politics. How should I answer?" Yuri's gaze turned firm. "Yes, I have made my decision. From this moment on, I will devote myself fully to carrying out the duties of a member of the royal family." The Duke suddenly understood. So that is it. He has drawn close to Belinda for this, for the sake of getting closer to the throne. He needs the Duke's support. I can use that. That is wonderful news. The Duke got up and waved his hand. "Then I shall return to my office. Belinda, take him to your room." Yuri extended a hand. "You are an expert on royal history. I would love to hear your stories as well." Belinda let out a sigh. "Very well. I will go prepare the room." She turned and left. Yuri gently closed the door. He said, "Actually, I came today because I wanted to speak to you about something." The Duke's lips curved slightly. "I think I already know. You are certainly impatient. It seems Belinda's engagement must be dissolved immediately." A sharp light flashed in Yuri's eyes. Miss Belinda is not a puppet. Surprise flickered in the Duke's gaze. Yuri continued in warning, "If you intend to use her and hurt her, then you are my enemy as well." The Duke looked confused. "What do you mean by that?" "I sincerely wish to support you." Yuri's gaze turned cold. "Do not misunderstand. I do not need anyone's support. I only want to protect her and everything that truly belongs to her. For that, I will seize the throne with my own strength." With that, he turned and left. Belinda sat in the room, with Yuri opposite her. The atmosphere was somewhat quiet. This may be the first time I have ever brought a man into my room. But why am I even thinking that? We're only colleagues. She forced a smile. "What brings you here today? If you need anything, you can contact me directly." Yuri explained. "As I said, I was curious about the place where you grew up." Belinda said, "There is nothing special here." Yuri added, "Besides that, there is something I wanted to give you." The table was piled high with gift boxes. "I am sorry. I'm not very good at choosing gifts for ladies." There was a lake green dress, a matching pair of shoes, and a necklace set with an enormous gemstone. "You will probably have more chances to attend social events from now on. If you would wear this dress, I would be very happy." Belinda's cheeks flushed faintly. She stammered, "Thank you." She tried hard to convince herself. "This is only proof of our cooperation, just a gesture of goodwill." A flash of joy passed through Yuri's eyes. "I'm looking forward to seeing you wear it." Belinda asked, "When I left the sitting room, what did you talk about with my father?" Yuri looked away. "Nothing important, but I believe the Duke will agree to dissolve your engagement. After all, he is a calculating man." Belinda heard this and looked puzzled. Yuri placed his hand lightly on the table. "Do not think about that for now. Since it is only the two of us, let's talk about something other than work." The two walked side by side down the corridor. Yuri said, "Today was enjoyable." Belinda replied softly, "For me as well. But next time, please inform me before you visit. You really startled me." Yuri smiled. "Seeing your surprised expression made it worthwhile." Belinda muttered, "Do not tease me like that again." Margaret poked her head out from behind a door. "Sister Belinda." She hurried over with a bright smile. "Father is calling for you. He says there is something urgent to discuss." Belinda nodded. "All right, I will go at once." Yuri said, "In that case, I shall take my leave as well." Margaret responded warmly. "Then I will see you to your carriage. I would love to hear about your experiences in the West." Belinda frowned slightly. For some reason, I do not want Margaret to be alone with Yuri. Yuri glanced sideways. "There is no need." A trace of darkness flashed through Margaret's eyes. Belinda stood before her father. He said, "I did not expect things to turn out exactly as Yuri predicted. I will deal with your engagement to Prince Raymond." Belinda asked, "What made you suddenly change your mind?" Her father answered, "I thought it over carefully. What you said makes sense. Besides, your future husband does not necessarily have to be Prince Raymond. If there's a stronger, more influential candidate, would that not be even better?" Belinda thought, "Sorry, father, but I do not plan to marry for the time being." Still, at least one problem is solved. She lightly touched her cheek, a faint smile appearing. 1 week later, a newspaper was slammed hard onto a table. The headline read in bold letters, "Miss Belinda officially breaks off her engagement to Crown Prince Raymond." Raymond clenched his fists his face livid. Do not joke with me. What is the meaning of this article? The king said, Raymond, why are you so agitated? Were you not the one who first agreed to end it? Raymond gritted his teeth, his eyes icy. A few days earlier, an official in the palace had reported to the queen, the Duke of Waldron's household has formally submitted a request to annul the engagement. Raymond had looked utterly shocked. What? How could this happen? I was supposed to be the one to cast that woman aside. I was supposed to break off the engagement with my own hands, crush her pride completely, and then propose to Margaret. But now it looks as though I was the one who got dumped. He bit down on his teeth. If I complain now, it will only make me look as though I still have feelings for her. How can I accept such humiliation? He clenched his fists. I understand. Since it is her wish, I accept the dissolution of the engagement. Did you really think I wanted a woman like that? Of course not. I thought public opinion would never side with Belinda. But the reality was that the words in the newspaper stabbed at his eyes. In light of Miss Belinda's recent achievements, the reason for the broken engagement is obvious. With the downfall of the interior minister, the crown prince's future is clouded. Perhaps even his fiancée has abandoned him. Raymond's fist slammed down. How did this become like this? Breaking an engagement with the crown prince should have been a disgrace. She should have been mocked as an old maid. Sunlight poured over the buildings. Two officials walked along the corridor. One said, "Did you read the morning paper? Even the commoners are talking about the interior minister scandal. It has dealt a heavy blow to Crown Prince Raymond. He no longer has any supporters, and now his engagement has been broken off as well. Does that mean the House of Waldron intends to support Prince Yuri for the throne? By the way, what role do you think Crown Prince Raymond played in the embezzlement case?" The other official lowered his voice. "That is still under internal investigation. If someone hears me, I could be executed. We must think about our own futures too." Inside the palace conference room, someone said, "First, we need to fill the vacancy in the Ministry of the Interior. That person is almost certain to become the new minister. We also need a bold choice for the assistant position." The office door was suddenly shoved open. Belinda looked up. "What is it?" Helena stood there with her hands on her hips, grinning from ear to ear. "I heard from people near the royal meeting chamber. Your name is on the short list for assistant to the Minister of the Interior. Just as I expected, Miss Belinda, I knew you would be chosen. Congratulations." Belinda waved her hand awkwardly. "That is a bit exaggerated. I had considered the possibility of a promotion because of my achievements in the West, or perhaps a transfer to another department. But assistant to the Minister of the Interior, that is one of the most crucial positions in politics." Philip explained, "After the scandal, the Ministry of the Interior is in complete chaos. Many people have even applied for transfers to avoid being dragged down. Now Marquis Packard has become the unexpected choice. I thought he stood out more in the Foreign Ministry. He was one of the few people who clearly kept his distance from the Crown Prince and the former minister. If they appoint someone connected to the former minister or to Raymond, the frontier marquises of the West will openly oppose it. To avoid conflict, they chose Marquis Packard." Belinda crossed her arms, her expression serious. "And they chose me as his assistant to ease the backlash from the West, since I was the one who exposed the embezzlement case." Philip said, "But that will not be the only reason they chose you. You are not who you once were." The officials around her all nodded. "The citizens of the capital trust you. They admire your political integrity. You expose corruption that had been ignored for years. If Miss Belinda becomes assistant, then the nation we believe in can move forward." Belinda responded, "That was because I had the chance to work with you all in the West and help the people there." She exchanged smiles with the officials. "Thank you." Belinda walked along the path of the estate. Assistant to the Minister of the Interior. That is a powerful position from which to bring Raymond down and support Prince Yuri's rise. I heard Raymond fled to the Western region in a panic. He was clearly involved in the embezzlement case as well. I will reveal the truth and crush him completely. The next issue is Margaret. That girl always wants everything I have. She seduced Raymond and tried to become queen, only to take things away from me. But now that the engagement is broken, she has no reason to keep chasing the crown. That means the threat of the queen's favor has also disappeared. She even once used a man to frame me with false accusations. A reckless act with no benefit at all. I know she still wants to take everything from me, but what exactly is it that she wants? She turned and saw Prince Yuri standing not far away, a slight smile on his face. Belinda came back to herself and lightly touched her hair. "Good day, Lord Yuri. What brings you here?" Yuri stepped closer. "It is almost time for the meeting. I came to escort you. Please think of me as your bodyguard. Belinda gave a soft laugh. Thank you. Yuri spoke again. Have you heard about the assistant position? Belinda nodded. I heard my name is on the list. Marquis Packard is close to the frontier marquises and to Her Majesty the Queen, so they likely recommended me. So much has happened that I can hardly look Lord Yuri in the eyes. If I truly end up bringing Raymond down, what will he think of me? Yuri sensed Belinda's silence. You do not seem very happy about it. Shouldn't you be pleased that your abilities have been recognized? Belinda lowered her head. Of course I am happy. It is just. Yuri's gaze was steady. In politics, not everyone is driven by power. So your enemies are far more than just my brother. Belinda turned to look at Yuri, visibly moved. All this time, I was only trying to avoid Margaret's traps. I cannot tell anyone how evil she was. I had given up hope that anyone would believe me. But just as he said, even family are not necessarily allies. I want Lord Yuri to know how I truly feel. Yuri knelt on one knee and took Belinda's hand. Remember this, your enemy is my enemy. I will not let you fight alone. But first, at the coming council, you must secure the position you deserve. Belinda nodded. Why is he so frank in reaching out to me? But my resolve must. Inside the council chamber, the officials sat in solemn silence while the king occupied the central seat. A blue-haired official stood up. I nominate Marquis Packard as the new Minister of the Interior and Miss Belinda Waldron. But as his assistant, applause broke out. Belinda rose and bowed. Light seemed to shine around her. To protect the people and my own future, I will strike down any obstacle. No matter what Margaret does next, I will walk the political path of justice. Belinda's gaze sharpened. First, I will use the corruption scandal to deal her a fatal blow. A blue-haired man entered. I am Dale Packard. Thank you for the introduction. Dale placed a hand over his chest. Now that everyone is here, please allow me to raise a new matter. He turned his head toward Belinda beside him. Then his expression grew grave. There are rumors that Prince Raymond was involved in the former Interior Minister's embezzlement case. I would like to hear everyone's thoughts. Around the conference table, everyone wore different expressions. The atmosphere turned tense. The king held his forehead, looking troubled. A hesitant monarch cannot make swift decisions. If that is the case, the queen sat upright in the seat of honor, her expression cold. If this is true, then Raymond is unfit to be king. The air instantly froze. Everyone looked at one another in shock. The queen had publicly denied Raymond. The struggle between the two princes for the throne had finally reached its boiling point. A faint smile touched Belinda's lips. Everything is under control. The plan to place him on the throne is moving even faster than I expected. Several nobles whispered among themselves. Did you hear? The queen has abandoned Prince Raymond. Another noble agreed. Even the engagement has been canceled. It seems his position as crown prince is no longer secure. Could it be that the queen wants Prince Yuri to become the new king? A wine bottle shattered in a harsh burst, red wine spraying everywhere. Raymond panted heavily, his eyes wide with fury. He glared at the noble who had delivered the message. Say that again. The noble was so frightened that he covered his mouth with both hands. That's not what I meant. Staggering, Raymond stepped forward. Even my own mother said, I am unfit to be king. His hand shook with rage, cracks appearing in the wine glass. His eyes turned bloodshot as he roared, Get out of my sight. The noble fled in terror. Raymond crushed the broken bottle under his foot. Damn it, they really want that brat to become king. He collapsed onto the sofa. Yuri is just the illegitimate son father had with a servant's child. He has no right to inherit the throne. He tilted back his head and drank. After Yuri's birth mother died, mother adopted him for some reason. At first I thought it was merely foolish sympathy. Could be she planned all this from the start? Women truly cannot be trusted. She actually betrayed her own son. Ever since Belinda betrayed me, everything has gone downhill. My former followers have all turned their backs on me. Everyone has abandoned me. Even my title is in danger. Is there really no one left on my side? His eyes were filled with unwillingness and madness. Impossible. I am a crown prince. I will have the last laugh. He staggered to his feet, arms spread wide as if embracing empty power. The doors flew open, and a figure quietly appeared. Margaret spoke. Prince Raymond, are you well? A flash of delight crossed Raymond's face. Margaret, have you come to see me? He grabbed Margaret by the shoulders. Why did you not answer my letters? Never mind, I still have you. You are the only one left on my side, my future empress. Margaret's eyes turned cold as she violently shook off his hand. Do not touch me. She stepped back. I came today to say goodbye. You're no longer of any use to me. Raymond's pupil shrank, his face going pale. What? Didn't you say you loved me? Margaret gave a contemptuous laugh. Did I ever really say that? Raymond hurriedly argued. Last month, when I gave you a gift. Margaret cut him off. Do you have any proof? I never once wrote you a letter with my own hand. Her smile turned strange. I will tell you a secret. I did want you once. She turned and walked away, her skirt brushing over the cold floor. I only did so because you used to belong to my sister. Raymond stretched out an arm. Wait, disgust appeared on Margaret's face. Now, I have no interest in the garbage she threw away. She strode off, leaving Raymond kneeling on the floor alone. Raymond stared at her back in despair. Margaret, even you. Margaret's steps were light. Dumping that fool feels wonderful. Flattering him made me sick. Prince Yuri, he is the one I need. He can protect me from Raymond's madness. More importantly, he is the one my sister likes most, isn't he? Belinda stood among her colleagues. Thank you all for your help and support. One colleague looked reluctant to part. I'm happy for your promotion, but to say goodbye so soon. Another joked, looking at the workload, we may need to hire 5 more people. Philip looked sad. It will feel lonely not seeing you anymore. Belinda smiled. You are as straightforward as ever. Karen pushed open the door. Lady Belinda, are you ready? Belinda nodded. Yes, this suitcase is the only thing left. Karen reached out to take it. Let me help you, Philip said. It does not seem right to let such a delicate lady carry heavy things. Karen blinked slightly and looked up at Philip, a spark flashing in her eyes. Belinda cleared her throat. For the record, I've been carrying the same things myself. Philip replied expressionlessly. That is different. You are a man, so there is no need to worry. Belinda looked wounded. How heartless. The 3 walked down the corridor. Belinda looked out the window. Wait, that person just now. Karen noticed that Belinda had stopped. What is it? Belinda shook her head. Nothing. She muttered to herself. What am I thinking? Margaret could not possibly be here. Margaret walked down the stone path carrying a basket. A male servant stopped her. Miss, is there something I can help you with? Lifting her skirts, Margaret said, I am Margaret, the younger daughter of the Duke of Waldron. I came to visit Prince Yuri, but I forgot which room is his. The servant bowed and offered to guide her. I see. Please allow me to show you the way. Margaret let out a sigh of relief. Thank you. You are a great help. Her eyes sparkled. Wait for me, Prince Yuri. I will be by your side very soon. A servant reported to Yuri that a guest had come to see him. It is a young lady from the Duke of Waldron's household. Yuri sat behind his desk and raised his head. Let her in. What an unusual guest. Margaret appeared carrying the basket, smiling brightly. Lord Yuri, it has been a while. Yuri looked at her. So it is you. Margaret lifted the basket. I brought some food. Please enjoy it. Ever since my... Yuri sat back down. Are you planning to use that to humiliate her? Margaret looked confused. Yuri gripped his quill, his gaze cold. You disguise cruelty as kindness to embarrass her. If you cry now, perhaps you can still win some sympathy. Margaret straightened up suddenly. You are mistaken. I truly only wanted to see my sister. Yuri looked at her coldly. Stop pretending. Your tears are worthless here. Margaret stiffened. Something is wrong. It feels as though everyone hates me. She said, were you busy just now? I'm sorry to disturb you. Yuri showed no mercy. Yes, I'm busy. Please leave. A hand seized Margaret by the wrist and shoved her out the door without ceremony. Margaret staggered and fell, the basket rolling to one side. Why? Why is everyone so rude to me? She slowly got to her feet as the door slammed shut in front of her. Her eyes turned sharp. I will not let this end here. Ever since I became the Duke's daughter, I have had everything. I was born into an insignificant family in the South. After my mother, Ada, became pregnant with me, the Duke sent her away from the capital. The Duke's legal wife had been busy covering up a scandal, his affair with a high-ranking noblewoman. The Duke regularly sent enough money, but compared with life in the ducal household, our life was nothing worth mentioning. Mother sat at the table, clutching her head. I gave birth to the Duke's daughter. When will he finally come for us? This is not what was promised. Mother was never satisfied. She spent all the Duke's money on jewelry and fine clothes. The young Margaret stood in front of her mother. Mother, I'm hungry. Her mother pulled Margaret into her arms. My poor little Margaret, that daughter of the legal wife, Belinda, is living a life of luxury in the capital. And you are also the Duke's daughter, but yet you must suffer here. It is all that woman Belinda's fault. A Duke's daughter, just like me. Why should she live better than I do? I will never accept it. That day, the Duke's daughter mother spoke of finally took on real meaning for me. It was as if fate had heard my heart. I received news that the Duchess had died. After the funeral, I met her for the first time in the ducal residence. The true duke's daughter, beautiful, elegant, intelligent. A vicious woman who had everything. A vicious woman when I myself had never possessed anything. I hated her, but she must never discover my existence. Margaret held out her hand. Sister, from today onward, it will be only the two of us. I was going to take everything from her. From that moment on, everything went according to plan. I stole the dress she loved. I dirted it on purpose and showed it to her. Whenever she became jealous, I would act sweetly toward father and win his favor. I treated the servants kindly, so Belinda would be isolated. I even stole her fiancé, Raymond, along with the noble ladies who should have been her friends. I took them all away from her. Of course, I never forgot to paint her as the villain. When Belinda stood alone outside, watching us, she looked just like I once did. I felt the emptiness in my heart being filled. So I was certain that this time, my plan, that would succeed as well. She dusted herself off. Perhaps I need to play a few tricks. First, I need to win Yuri's trust and lower his guard. Belinda stood before Dale's desk. Once you review this document, today's work will be finished. Dale picked up the document. It seems the personnel issues have finally been resolved. I believe that starting tomorrow, that you will be able to go home earlier. Belinda looked a little surprised. Dale continued, you prepared everything perfectly. All I had to do was make the final decision and sign. Thanks to you, we shortened the overall workload. You work faster than any bureaucrat I've ever seen. In the distance, two officials nodded in agreement. Belinda thought to herself, normally I would be suspicious of praise like that, but for some reason, his words sounded sincere. He reminded her of someone. She gave a slight, awkward smile. Thank you for the compliment. Leaning back in his chair, Dale said, just as I said at the government meeting, I intend to pursue this corruption case to the very end. I believe your abilities will be essential. I look forward to seeing what you can do. Belinda bowed her head slightly. I'll do my best. Actually, about that, before he could finish, Yuri strode in. Are you planning to work late again tonight? Belinda laughed softly. Well, it is my first day, after all. Dale smiled. Miss Belinda, let's continue discussing work tomorrow. Belinda looked at Yuri. I need to bring back someone very important to Lord Yuri. I want to talk about that now, but I suppose not. He turned to Dale. All right, then I'll take my leave. Yuri held out his hand. I'll escort you to the Duke's carriage. Belinda slipped her arm through his. Thank you. I never imagined I would grow this close to him, but now I feel I trust him more than anyone. She asked, have you known Marquis Packard for a long time? Yuri kept his gaze ahead. He has been close to the Border Duke for many years. He helped me a great deal when I was young. Like the Border Duke, he's almost like a father to me, but completely different from my real father. Belinda smiled softly. In front of the minister and the Duke, you looked like such an honest child. She added, that was a compliment. You're really adorable. Yuri's expression stiffened. Really? You truly think so? Belinda stopped walking. Then why did you come to get me? Yuri grew serious. It's about my brother. An official investigation into his suspected corruption is about to begin. I think we should investigate the people around him as well. Belinda's eyes sharpened. You mean Margaret, right? I never expected you to think the same way I do. I was just about to suggest it to the Minister of the Interior. Yuri turned slightly to look at her. He's still your enemy, isn't he? Belinda's gaze was cold. Even if he's been reborn, he's still my enemy. A trace of resolve flashed in Yuri's eyes. In that case, I'll make sure both of them are punished. For your sake. A carriage waited in the distance. Belinda turned to leave. Then I'll be going now. Yuri gave a small nod. All right, you worked hard today. Belinda raised her hand in farewell, and Yuri waved back as well. She clasped her hands before her chest. For my sake, considering the plan to make him king, is it really all right for him to be swayed by personal feelings? A kind of happiness she had never felt before welled up inside her. So this is what it feels like to have someone willing to fight for me. It makes me so happy. But now wasn't the time to daydream. This was her plan for the future. Originally, the plan had been to drive out the former Minister of the Interior and, while at it, bring down Raymond, who was likely involved in the corruption. But then she suddenly remembered the necklace he had worn the day she was reborn. If it had been bought with Raymond's embezzled money, then if her guess was correct, the Duke's household was hiding proof of corruption and adultery alike. A treasure trove of evidence. I told Yuri about it, and he said we should also investigate Margaret, who frequently comes to the palace. Sitting in the carriage, Belinda tapped her chin with a finger. If only that girl would behave herself. Margaret walked briskly along, carrying a small basket. A servant bowed. Good morning. The carriage is ready. Margaret responded with a radiant smile. Thank you. I'm leaving now. Looking down from upstairs, Belinda thought it won't be that simple. Fortunately, I've already laid the next piece on the board. Yuri sat behind his desk, looking at Margaret as she entered. You again. This is not a place for a young lady to come and amuse herself. Margaret gave a slight curtsy. Actually, there's something I'd like to confess about Lord Raymond. Please take a look. Yuri's eyes sharpened. Margaret opened the basket in her hands. It was filled with jewelry and ornaments. Lord Raymond gave me all of these. He's my sister's fiancé, so I kept refusing, but he kept coming to see me. Yuri leaned back in his chair. Very well. Margaret smiled faintly. Lord Yuri, if there is anything else I can help with, please let me know. After all, we are both victims of Lord Raymond. We ought to join forces. Yuri suddenly frowned. She outplayed him. Belinda stood in Yuri's office. This morning, I saw her leave carrying a large basket. I thought she was going to dispose of the jewelry Raymond gave her. I never imagined she would bring it to you. With these items and her testimony, it's enough to suspend Raymond, Yuri said, but this alone isn't enough to convict him. Belinda handed him a document. That's why I prepared this. Yuri looked puzzled. What is this? Belinda explained. Recently, I obtained the ledgers from the jewelry shops where Raymond may have made purchases. I recognized that necklace, and I found the same design immediately in one of the stores. Look, this gem and this gem both match the details in the ledger. The real buyer appears to be the money embezzled by an Interior Ministry official. It was likely converted into jewelry to conceal the flow of funds. And then Raymond gave that jewelry to Margaret. This is the decisive evidence of his crime. Yuri gave a faint smile. Belinda being able to gather all this evidence. Just as impressive as ever. With this, Raymond's guilt is all but certain. But I never expected your sister to protect herself in this way. Belinda fell into thought. Did I miscalculate? After I broke off the engagement, she lost interest in Raymond. So under the pretense of self-preservation, she decided to discard Raymond once he had lost his usefulness. Just like in my previous life, when she poisoned the queen who had abandoned her. But more importantly, Margaret, why did you have to hand the evidence to Lord Yuri of all people? She pressed a hand to her chest. Her heart skipped a beat. Yuri stared at her. At the next meeting, I will impeach Raymond. You will never have to see him again. You've endured this alone until now. You've worked hard. Belinda's eyes grew warm. Thank you very much. Have you made up your mind? Once Raymond is convicted, the Crown Prince's faction will collapse. That means you will become the leader of this country. Yuri placed a hand over his chest. I am prepared to take on everything my brother leaves behind, including the right to inherit the throne and his responsibility to the people. Belinda's eyes trembled. I'm so foolish. How could I ever have doubted him? This man would never be blinded by Margaret's tricks or by immediate gain. She resolved herself. I have to judge Raymond. Only then can I entrust the people to him. A meeting was underway. Raymond sat at one end of the long table, resting his head in one hand. Are you saying that I, a member of the royal family, would dirty my own hands with corruption? What a disgusting accusation. Do you want to be charged with treason? Before Dale could speak, the Western Minister of the Interior gave testimony. He said Prince Raymond had taught him how to embezzle. Raymond shot back. You'd believe the words of a criminal? Yuri spoke up. Then what about the testimony of someone who is not a criminal? You remember, don't you? The jewelry you shamelessly gave another woman, even though you were already engaged. Raymond went pale. Why do you? That's not true. It's all fabricated. I didn't do anything. The queen sat at the head of the chamber, her gaze icy. How ugly, Raymond. Belinda thought silently. To prove his guilt means forcing the queen to punish her own son with her own hands. For the sake of the people, it can't be helped. But how painful that must be. The queen met Belinda's eyes in silence for a moment, then lifted her fan and gently waved it. Beside the king, she murmured something. The king then announced, given the gravity of the situation, Raymond will be stripped of all royal authority. Raymond jerked his head up. All authority? He clenched his fists. Then what about my right to inherit the throne? Who will be the next king? Yuri looked ahead, his gaze deep and unreadable. The queen turned away. This meeting is adjourned. Everyone will remain in the castle for the time being. Raymond was taken away by 2 attendants. It's all that woman's fault. Because of her, Belinda decided to stay behind. I have no right to do this, but I don't want the queen to be alone right now. The queen always puts my feelings first. If she weren't here, I never would have come. A hand suddenly clamped over her mouth. Belinda's eyes widened in terror, her violet pupils shrinking sharply. Raymond roared, his face twisted with rage. This is all your fault. Raymond's expression contorted. This is all your fault. If you hadn't become a bureaucrat, if you hadn't accused me of corruption, if you hadn't betrayed me. Belinda's fingers trembled. She thought, he reeks of alcohol. This might be my chance. Raymond grabbed her by the collar. Struggling, Belinda gasped, please stop. Raymond snorted. It's useless. Do you think I'd pity you? You crazy woman. Belinda shouted back. You're a prince, and you were drinking during the meeting? Raymond's face twisted madly. Shut up, shut up, shut up. The corner of Belinda's mouth lifted. Keep venting your rage. This time, you'll be completely finished. Raymond pulled out a dagger, his whole body shaking. Go tell Mother those pieces of evidence were forged. Restore our engagement and resign from your job. Belinda said, I won't yield to your threats. She thought, but I'm not ready to get hurt. Raymond raised the dagger, his face twisted. Someone like you should be. Yuri rushed in. He twisted Raymond's arm and pinned him hard to the floor. Still shaken, Belinda stared at Prince Yuri. Yuri's wrist had been slashed, and blood dripped down as he held Raymond down. Belinda covered her mouth as she looked at the bloody wound. Why is he bleeding? Raymond burst into wild laughter. I never thought you'd bleed to protect a woman like this. She has no feminine charm at all, just a pretentious lunatic. Tell me, what's so good about that ugly woman? Yuri said firmly, Miss Belinda is beautiful. You are incapable of understanding her nobility. As a member of the royal family, you should be able to see beyond your own position and understand her. Guards forced Raymond down. Panicked, Raymond protested. I was only talking to her. Belinda demanded, with a dagger pointed at me. You call this talking? Your end has come. She looked at Yuri. He saved me again, and he bled for me. She took out a pure, white handkerchief. Let me tend to your wound. She carefully wrapped Yuri's wrist. I'm sorry for causing you trouble. Yuri shook his head. It's not trouble. I was very worried about you. If you're ever in trouble, you can always come to me. Belinda's heart quivered. He was worried about me. She thought, I hope His Majesty deals with this seriously. But Raymond is the king's eldest son. At the political meeting just now, he could have named Yuri crown prince. He didn't because deep down he still wants the child closest to him to inherit the throne. Yuri put a hand to his chest. Don't worry, I won't let him succeed. I may not be crown prince yet, but I do have the right to inherit the throne. I will hold that place. Belinda smiled in relief. I really can believe his words. Then she replied, in that case, please employ someone who won't disappoint you. Yuri's lips curved upward. That is exactly what I intend. Night had fallen over the palace. Dale asked, at this hour? What is it? If you're looking for Lady Belinda. She has already gone home. Yuri looked grave. There is something I want to discuss with you today. I have a request. Dale looked thoughtful. I did smell something unpleasant. Yuri nodded. Yes, that's right. Sunlight streamed through the window as the queen sat facing Belinda. Belinda spoke first. Thank you for what you did at the political meeting a few days ago. The queen lifted her teacup. Don't mention it. Did I really do something worth thanking me for? Lowering her gaze, Belinda said, it's about Lord Raymond. I publicly declared his crimes at the meeting. I believed it was simply what I ought to do as a civil servant. The queen smiled. You are kinder than you appear. You insist on doing what you believe is right, even when it does not benefit you. You are not the sort of person who is easily swayed by others. Belinda smiled faintly. The queen continued, don't worry about me. Someone once told me that I am the mother of this nation, the mother of its people. I care equally for my own children and for my subjects. That includes you. Thank you for stopping Raymond's foolishness. I also heard about his attack on you. I am truly sorry. Belinda hurriedly waved her hand. Please don't worry. Please, raise your head. I'm Fina. Prince Yuri saved me. The queen smiled softly. Yuri, like his mother, has a strong sense of justice. He is a good man. You and Yuri are very well matched. So I hope you will accept what is about to happen. The queen called out, Karen, bring some refreshments. In the grand palace, an official addressed the meeting. Thank you all for gathering today. Lord Raymond has handed over his state affairs. This meeting has been convened for a matter requiring your judgment. Prince Yuri, if you would. Yuri rose from his seat and walked to the center of the conference table. Belinda sat among the others, staring at him. I wonder whom Prince Yuri will choose. Yuri spoke. I would like Miss Belinda to become my aide. Belinda's eyes widened in shock. He wants me to be his deputy? That is an extremely personal move. And the Minister of the Interior has no reason to allow it. Dale spoke up. This is a tremendous loss for the Ministry of the Interior. But if it is for the future of the country, I have no objection. The meeting ended, and the officials gradually left. Belinda looked at Yuri's back. Please wait a moment. With her hands on her hips and a sharp look in her eyes, she said, what do you mean by making me your aide? Yuri met her gaze directly. I told you, you are the most suitable person. I already obtained the Interior Minister's permission. I have the right to nominate you. Belinda protested, but what I'm thinking is this. The Crown Prince's aide becomes the future Prime Minister. There has never been a woman in that position. While you are competing for the throne, making such a personal decision that will invite criticism is not wise. Yuri smiled faintly. You say that, but haven't you broken many precedents yourself? Belinda fell silent. That's true, but folding her hands in front of her, she said, I have been an official for less than a year. This could have a negative effect on you. She remembered the past. When I first entered service, there were rumors that I had slept my way to the top. Scandals like that. Yuri cut her off. The situation now is completely different from when you first became an official. Everyone knows who you are. There is no room for doubt. His gaze was unwavering. And it was you who told me to find someone who would never betray me to be my aide. Yuri dropped to one knee. Lifting Belinda's hand, he said, other than you, I can think of no one who could serve as my aide. Belinda's cheeks flushed, saying it like, that is unfair. Smiling, Yuri pressed further. So, will you accept? Belinda lowered her eyes. Since the Minister of the Interior has already cornered me, I suppose I have nowhere else to go. She looked up again, her gaze resolute. If it's come to this, then I will do everything in my power to make you king. Yuri smiled in satisfaction. Good, I'll look forward to it. Standing side by side in the splendid palace, the two forged a new pact. A newspaper lay open, its headline bold and unmistakable. Lady Belinda becomes Prince Yuri's aide. The first female prime minister is about to be born. The former official flew into a rage. Tearing the newspaper with both hands, he snarled, damn that woman. Grinding his teeth, he muttered, the first female prime minister? Does he really think he can wear the crown? He stamped about, burning with anger. I can't let Raymond's sacrifice go to waste, and I can't let this fury fade. Standing by the window, he stared outside, thinking of how to restore Raymond's power. The king is conservative. He will never agree to Yuri's succession. I'll do whatever it takes to get rid of that woman who humiliated me. A knock sounded at the door. The butler peered in. You have a visitor. The former official barked impatiently. Who is it? Can't you see I'm busy? The butler reported. She says she is the daughter of Duke Waldron. The former official pulled open a drawer. Inside lay a sharp dagger. Send her in. A ruthless glint flashed in his eyes, the blade reflecting light against his twisted face. I don't care why she's here. I'm going to finish that woman. Margaret entered the room with a gentle smile on her face. The former official froze. The one who had come was not Belinda. Margaret's voice rang out. No need to hide it. You thought my sister was the one coming, didn't you? The former official concealed the dagger. What is this? Margaret smiled knowingly. Good, so you thought the same thing. But unfortunately, those methods won't work on her. I've tried many times myself. The former official asked, so you have a plan? Margaret's smile was full of calculation. If we join forces, we can take away the thing my sister values most. Inside Yuri's office, Belinda stepped forward. I dealt with the backlog of work left by Prince Raymond. 3 officials stood nearby as Belinda assigned tasks. These documents are to be returned to the Treasury. Please look at the sections circled in red. This matter will be reported to the Minister of the Interior. Hands on her hips, she declared sternly, my schedule is packed. I don't have time for dawdling. If you want to go home on time, get moving. The officials all stiffened. Yes, ma'am. Yuri thought to himself, I need to finish my work before she scolds me too. An assistant entered the corridor holding a stack of documents. Excuse me, are these papers from the Treasury? Belinda accepted them. Thank you very much. She glanced through them and froze. Yuri looked at the papers. This is the regular report on the steel trade. Belinda stood beside him. Yes, exports from the southern iron mines have declined slightly. The South is a commercial city. They are skilled at using the North's superior ironworking techniques to sell iron goods. Ever since I discovered the iron mines, tax revenue from the South has continued to rise. But a drop in exports is strange. The South's trade partner is the county of Messina, a seafaring nation. It seems orders from Messina have decreased. That's not normal. Yuri looked up. Then I'll leave this investigation to you. Belinda accepted the file. Leave anything involving the Ministry of Commerce to me. Sitting in an armchair, she flipped through a red-bound ledger. I can't find a reason. I investigated Southern tax revenue and accounts, but I can't find the root of the problem. Could the South be manipulating the books? If so, there should be discrepancies in Messina's customs records. Hurried footsteps echoed. Several knights rushed into the room and roughly seized Belinda by both arms. You're under arrest, Belinda demanded in shock. What are you doing? A dark prison cell. Iron bars were locked tight. Belinda sat alone on the cold bed. Margaret's voice sounded from outside the cell. Sister. She appeared beyond the bars, looking innocent. How pitiful. I heard you leaked the nation's steel-making techniques overseas. She covered her mouth with one hand, but her eyes were full of malice. Why would you do such a thing? Belinda replied. Who knows? Margaret feigned innocence. I heard some rumors from the Ministry of Commerce and Industry. Even after you left, you kept entering the building and collecting confidential information. In the end, you were caught at the scene, exactly as the soldiers explained it to me. Belinda looked at her coldly. I was wondering who was pulling the strings behind all this. A memory flashed through her mind. An official had come by and said, "Excuse me, these are documents from the Ministry of Commerce and Industry and the Treasury." Understanding flickered in her eyes. Margaret continued her performance. "But don't lose heart, sister. I'll definitely save you." Belinda's gaze cleared, turning sharp and calm. "I finally have it all sorted out. The problem is how to get out of this prison. Still, I have plenty of clues, so I probably don't need to worry." Yuri sat behind his desk. "How has Miss Belinda been since then?" His subordinate answered, "I received a report. She's being held in the noble's prison and has remained very quiet." Yuri said, "They didn't even allow her house arrest." The subordinate added, "I asked around. They said she is suspected of treason, so it's difficult." Yuri's brow tightened. "So, I can't even visit her?" The subordinate confirmed, "That's correct." Yuri waved him away. "Understood. You may go." The subordinate bowed and left. Sitting alone, Yuri raised a hand to cover his eyes. "I inquired with the Ministry of Justice about her arrest. They said the investigation is ongoing and they cannot disclose details. I can't even visit her in prison. It's strange enough that she was dragged into this case, but the charge is leaking information about the iron mines. If there is someone who hates us and can act from inside a closed apartment, then there's only one culprit: the former official Hayden Berlin." Footsteps sounded outside the door. Margaret pushed it open and entered. Lifting her skirt in a curtsy, she greeted him. "Good day, Prince Yuri." Yuri sat behind his desk, looking at her coldly. "What do you want?" Margaret replied calmly. "I just want to visit my sister." Her tone was light. "Poor sister, being confined in a place like that. You must be very distressed as well. But I can save her for you. And you too, Prince Yuri." Yuri frowned slightly. "What do you mean?" Margaret curled her lips into a smile. "I know who framed my sister. My apologies, Mr. Hayden. Sir Raymond no longer has any use for you. To gain Prince Yuri's trust, I have no choice but to cast you aside." Looking wounded, she said, "I know you dislike me, but now I can prove that I'm sincerely worried about my sister." Yuri's eyes turned sharp. "I understand now. You're involved in this case as well." Margaret's smile froze. "What did you just say?" Yuri cut her off coldly. "I do not know the full truth, but I will never trust you. As for her, I believe she will do everything in her power to clear her name. Other than her, I have no desire to work with anyone." Margaret lowered her eyes. "I understand." Forcing a smile, she added, "As you wish, Prince Yuri. Though we are both daughters of the Duke, my sister's standing is far above mine." She curtsied again. "I only hope she won't suffer too terribly in prison." Then she hurried away. Panic was written all over her retreating back. Yuri slammed his fist against the desk, furious. That woman, outside the doors, Margaret was approached by a black-haired man. "Lady Margaret, are you all right?" Margaret turned around. "Thank you for your concern." The corner of her mouth rose in a calculating smile. "Why should I panic? That annoying sister is already in prison. Men are so easy to manipulate. All I have to do is seduce Prince Yuri." The cell door opened. A guard handed Belinda a tray of coarse prison food. I had planned to apply for visitation rights, but before I could, the information I wanted was delivered to me. If I can contact a servant, I can make use of the maid's letter network. She unfolded the note on the table. "The steelmaking technology has indeed been leaked overseas, but your involvement has not been proven. You were arrested because records in the Ministry of Commerce and Industry were falsified." "I see. Because I often went to the records room there to examine steel export data, they suspected me. If I clear myself of that suspicion, they will have no reason to keep me detained. So how should I proceed?" At the end of the note was one more line. "Yuri is collecting the forged documents and working hard to prove your innocence." Belinda lowered her head in thought. "He's so kind, but doing that will put him at a disadvantage. He suddenly appointed me as his aide, and now that I've been arrested, he's even defending me. That is very bad for him. If they connect all the dots, Yuri may well be suspected of leaking secrets because of me. Though Raymond has been defeated, Yuri's position is still fragile." She folded up the note. "I can't let Yuri take that risk. Whatever Margaret's motives are, I won't let her succeed." In the trial chamber, the nobles in the tiered seats sat in stunned silence. A knight in armor escorted Belinda into the hall. Yuri lowered his gaze in thought. "With the help of the government officials, we collected all the documents she was accused of forging. But the other side claims she altered the records recently, and some of those records should have been inaccessible even to a prince's aide. If we can point out that contradiction, we can prove her innocence." Across the courtroom, the Queen and Belinda looked at one another from afar. The Queen's voice echoed through the chamber. "Belinda, daughter of Duke Waldron, today we once again convene to address the charge that you falsified steel import and export records. Do you plead guilty?" Belinda answered clearly, "Yes, I falsified the records." Yuri's pupils tightened. What is she? Belinda continued. However, I admit only to falsifying the records. I do not admit to leaking information because you do not have sufficient evidence, do you? The queen covered half her face with her fan. Ever since she was still a maid, I thought she was an ambitious girl, but I didn't expect it to go this far. Whenever trouble arises, she always tries to take everything upon herself. When she served as a translator of the Hara language, she intentionally allowed numerous translation errors to pass until the final moment before stepping in. When my maid was in trouble, she did not report it upward, but acted herself to help. That is her true nature. So I can say with confidence that even if she falsified documents, she would never leak state secrets for personal gain. Belinda smiled faintly. Yes, Her Majesty the Queen has seen right through me. How embarrassing. Just as Your Majesty said, I was the first to realize that information might have been leaked, so I falsified the records to buy time. I intended to catch the real culprit myself and then take all the credit. The judge looked astonished. She really is ruthless. Belinda turned toward Yuri. Those documents were collected by Prince Yuri. He took responsibility for my scandal. Some of those documents were inaccessible even to a prince. It must have been difficult for him. I apologize for my own powerlessness. The nobles in the gallery whispered among themselves. I thought the second prince might be involved too. Good thing I didn't take sides too quickly. But still, she really does crave fame. Otherwise, she never would have entered a male-dominated bureaucracy. Yuri clenched his fists. I meant to protect her, but in the end, she protected me. I truly have gained an aide who will never betray me. The judge struck the gavel heavily. Belinda Waldron is hereby dismissed from her post as the prince's aide. She will remain under house arrest pending further notice. Belinda lifted her skirt in a formal bow. The judge announced, I will later take your testimony and the forged documents. However, due to insufficient evidence of treason, that charge is dismissed. This trial is adjourned. The people began to file out. Philip and Dale came forward. Miss Belinda, I admire you. To protect Prince Yuri's reputation, you made that choice. This must have been a trap set by someone trying to obstruct His Highness. But do not worry. His position in politics will not waver. Belinda waved a hand. There is no need to worry. I will always place Prince Yuri's reputation first. Yuri looked at her coldly. I don't care about reputation. As he brushed past Belinda, he slipped a letter into her hand. Come to this place later. Belinda arrived in the room. Yuri stood by the window. Why did you do that? We had a way to prove your innocence. Belinda stepped forward. The forged document scheme was clumsy, but the mastermind behind the leak has still not been identified. You could have faced serious charges because of this forgery case. Yuri's voice trembled, but you said honest people shouldn't be hurt. Yet now you're taking responsibility for a crime you didn't commit. Belinda smiled faintly. There is little doubt that the former interior minister is the one behind this. Unfortunately, my sister also seems to be working with him. Yuri recalled. If I remember correctly, she said she knew the true culprit in this case. What a wretched creature, willing to do anything just to frame her own sister. Belinda said, exactly because of that, we now have a chance to corner them with a charge of treason. Once we obtain proof that they leaked the information, we win. Yuri stared at her in shock. She has already seen that far into the future. What a terrifying opponent. Belinda stepped closer to Yuri. This is the path I chose to realize my ideals. I believe that once you become king, everything will be resolved. I am your aide, so I believe in you. Yuri asked, what do you plan to do after this? Belinda's gaze was firm. I want the queen to dismiss me. Outside the palace. Belinda walked side by side with Karen. Karen said, everyone in the palace is talking about you. Prince Yuri is probably blaming himself for not being able to protect you at the meeting. Belinda answered calmly. Everything is proceeding according to plan. Karen frowned. But your reputation will be ruined. Belinda's lips curved upward. It's fine. I'm good at overturning a bad reputation. Sir Philip said something similar. Karen laughed. If you wanna, you can crawl your way back, even from the depths of hell. Belinda asked, you've grown quite close to him, haven't you? Karen blushed. I suppose so. We do talk from time to time. The queen lifted her teacup. This is the first time I've ever received a letter from prison. I never expected it to be delivered by a cleaning woman. Belinda said, it was a gamble to get the letter into your hands, but it seems my meal attendant succeeded. Was that arranged by you, Your Majesty? The queen chuckled. So you noticed. I simply thought that if I or another member of the royal family visited you, it would invite unnecessary rumors. Belinda lowered her gaze. By the way, I'm very grateful for what you said at the hearing. The queen said, you wrote in your letter that you were willing to take all responsibility. I was surprised, but it was the right choice. Thanks to your quick thinking, Yuri's career was not stained. Your decisiveness protected Yuri and the future of this country. You truly are an outstanding aide. Belinda bowed slightly. It was nothing. Raymond is under house arrest now. If something happened to Yuri, our country's reputation would be ruined. The queen changed the subject. And now, you want to be sent to the south. What do you intend to do there? Belinda looked directly at the queen. I have two goals. First, I want to catch the person who leaked the steelmaking technology. From the perspective of a steel expert, the North and East, with their thriving steel industries, are certainly suspicious. But such a leak would affect them too deeply. I'm more suspicious of the South. It is a major commercial center, and its products are sold to many nations. The leaker must be a merchant with ties to the political world. For that, I have a request of Lady Karen. Karen was stunned. Belinda explained, I heard your brother works in the South for Prince Yuri. I have no connections there. Would you act as my intermediary? Karen answered at once, of course. I'll write to him immediately. The queen asked, and your other goal? Belinda's eyes deepened. I'm going to cut off a bond one left unresolved long ago. A carriage stopped in front of the palace. A maid reported to Belinda, My lady, this is the last of your luggage. Belinda thanked her. Thank you. You've been a great help. Please wait a moment. The maid nodded. Of course. Belinda walked over to Yuri. Why are you here? After I told him I was going south, he kept trying to see me. He even sent countless letters to stop me. Yuri asked softly, Have you lost weight? Because you haven't been by my side. Belinda froze slightly. What? Yuri took her hand. I don't want to be apart from you. Belinda's cheeks flushed crimson and her eyes widened. What does he mean? The maid hurried over. Lady Belinda, where are you? Belinda's face turned bright red. I have to go. She gently slipped her hand from Yuri's. Please don't make that face. I promise I'll come back. Yuri gazed at her. I mean it. I don't want you to leave. Belinda's heart raced. Not to return to this palace full of painful memories. I'm going to bring back the key to our victory. I'll bring it to you. Yuri opened his palm. In exchange, take this. It's my mother's keepsake. A golden pendant rested quietly in his hand. Belinda accepted it. All right, I'll treasure it. 2 weeks later, in the southern city of Lakian, holding a purple parasol, Belinda stood on a flower-covered hillside, looking out toward the distant coastal city. The journey was long, but it was absolutely worth it. This is Margaret's birthplace. Margaret stared out the window. The forged documents plot was my plan with the former interior minister. According to the plan, he would control the information within the castle, while I handled the aftermath. My main goal was to sell out the former interior minister to Prince Yuri and then drive my sister into an even graver crime. But she took the blame for the forged documents herself. I had wondered what she would do, but instead she was stripped of her post and driven to the countryside. A ruthless glint flashed in Margaret's eyes, and a twisted smile rose to her lips. What a pity. Losing everything you worked so hard to build must be devastating. Such a pity, my unfortunate sister. I'll keep tormenting you until you understand that I'm the superior one. A maid approached Margaret at the window and handed her a letter. Lady Margaret, a letter has arrived. There's no signature. Margaret took the envelope. Who could have sent it? She unfolded the letter. Though we failed to crush that Vixen and Yuri's plans, she has been demoted and sent to the south. It's immensely satisfying to destroy Prince Yuri. I hope to make use of your connections once again. Margaret staggered back in disbelief. Sent to the south? No imposible. Her hand trembled as she held the letter. I can't keep playing around anymore. She sat at her desk. Her pen raced across the paper. Belinda thought, I've never been able to understand how Margaret managed to assassinate the queen or how she drove off that interior official who tried to attack me. But Margaret isn't pure enough to have done all that alone. I'm certain I'll uncover her secret here. A voice came from behind her. The sea in the south is beautiful, isn't it? Belinda turned. A red-haired young man stood among the flowers, dressed in an elegant white and green uniform. The young man extended a hand. It's a pleasure to meet you. I am Victor Cases, though I think introducing myself as Karen's brother might be better. Belinda recalled Karen and smiled. I'm Belinda Waldron. It's a pleasure to meet you. You seem very easygoing. Victor said that was supposed to be my line. After all, rumors about you have spread throughout the entire South. Belinda smiled faintly. Are they unpleasant rumors? Victor laughed. Nothing like that. You're just an interesting person. First, let me take you to the inn. He turned to lead the way. The two walked through the sea of flowers. A white carriage waited on the hillside. Inside the carriage, Victor said, I want to thank you for saving my sister and for broadening her horizons. Belinda shook her head. It was nothing really. Victor continued, please don't be modest. Did Karen tell you? We are the children of a marquis and a traveling performer and dancer from Hara. He had no legitimate heir, so he raised us in the main residence. But a few years later, his lawful wife gave birth to a son, and I was sent back to Hara. After that, my mother took me in. She became the second wife of a local noble there. But when the Marquis died unexpectedly, the family fell into hardship. Karen bore all of that in my place. Belinda shook her head. I never heard that. But Karen has a strong sense of responsibility. Victor looked at her earnestly. Lady Belinda, I will prove that I can be useful to you in the South. Belinda gripped her clothes. I only wanted to save her because she reminded me of my former self. I never thought my actions in the past would affect the present. Since you are in charge of Southern diplomacy, hearing that from you is reassuring. I'll be counting on you from now on. Victor suddenly leaned closer. I heard your engagement was recently broken off. Belinda's body stiffened. Yes, so what? Victor gave her a meaningful smile. I'm a rising star. Rumor has it I'll become the future foreign minister. But there's just one problem. Belinda looked at him in silence. Victor took Belinda's hand. No one would discriminate against someone from Hara. But if I married a low-born woman or a powerful provincial noblewoman, that would be another matter. Belinda thought, is he trying to persuade me? Victor smiled confidently. The first female prime minister, an account with a brilliant future. What do you think of that combination? Belinda let out a soft laugh. The carriage rolled away in the bright sunshine. As the two walked through the bustling southern town, Victor said, Karen told me that besides investigating the information leak, you also have something important to look into. Belinda answered calmly, Margaret was born here. These two matters must be connected. The person who framed me for leaking information has influence in the political world, but the mastermind is not a noble. Victor added, merchants from the north and merchants from the south usually trade through their respective capitals. If the mastermind was selling information, shrewd merchants would certainly have caught wind of it. Belinda's eyes sharpened. But that matter doesn't seem to have spread through the south. Don't you find that strange? Victor stopped walking. You mean a merchant leaked the information? Belinda nodded. That's right. In fact, I was attacked in the north by a thug before. The thug who was arrested had ties to the south. I know it's too early to reach a conclusion, but although Margaret is my father's illegitimate daughter, she was born here instead of in the capital. My father was always careful to avoid trouble because my mother came from a powerful noble family. So I find that very strange. It takes 2 weeks by carriage to get here. Making a pregnant woman travel that far is highly unusual. She lifted a hand to her chin. Who was taking care of her at the time? All the information I have shares one thing in common. The South. I think it's worth investigating thoroughly. Victor's eyes turned resolute. Then I'll be your guide, wherever you go. The two walked through the market. Victor bought some snacks from a vendor, and they ate as they went. Victor pointed toward a building in the distance. Is that where Lady Margaret was born? Belinda looked where he was pointing. It should be. It's a little far from the city center. Victor said, good thing I came with you. This area isn't exactly safe. He pushed open a door, and Belinda followed him into a shabby house. The place was filthy and cluttered. A worn teddy bear lay on the floor. Victor looked around. I don't think a child could grow up properly in an environment like this. Belinda picked up the teddy bear. As far as I know, while my mother was alive, father was often away from home for months at a time. If father had a relationship with Ada, it must have been when I was still an infant or before I was born. If he never came back, then was Margaret raised by her mother alone? But I can't imagine selfish Ada taking care of a child by herself. Victor opened a drawer. Most of them were empty, but if we search carefully, we might still find something. I'll call my men over. Belinda nodded. That's great. Before she could finish speaking, a voice came from the doorway. Get down. Several knife-wielding thugs burst in. Victor immediately pulled Belinda close, shielding her behind him. The thugs closed in. The masked leader's eyes gleamed with malice. Belinda thought to herself, they're moving faster than I expected. How should I handle this? Victor looked at the thugs. This seems to be quite a tricky situation. Let's retreat first. He swept Belinda up into his arms. Belinda's eyes widened in shock.